Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to Smudcast number 442. Trope Talk, Ancient Superweapons. What a fantastic trope. This is a very common trope that we find in just about every video game that's from Japan or any manga or anime. There's always some ancient civilization that had some doomsday weapon or engine or power device or ancient magical thing, and the heroes have to stop it to prevent the world from being destroyed. And good Lord, that happens a lot. So it's a great conversation to talk about when you're talking about tropes. I'm glad it's brought up. I could talk about just the game I'm playing right now. It has about 12 of them, so it's pretty common.
Oh.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Every new chapter, it's like, oh, another super weapon from, ancient 10,000 years ago that can destroy time and space. Like, that's great. So, I'm playing, by the way, another Eden, which is basically the giant ripoff of Chrono Cross with gotcha on a mobile phone, but I'm playing it on my computer. There's a PC port, and it's nuts. It's just like I'm playing Chrono Cross, just free and with gotcha. So, yeah, that's super weapons galore. There's all kinds of super weapons, but ancient engines, ancient dead races or civilizations that bury some technology that you got to bring back, and it's the secret of magic or whatever, and destroys the world.
That just feels like we're playing a BioWare game.
It's pretty close. Yeah, they got their ancient super weapons too, so it's all the same. Yeah. It's a very efficient way of putting a story together without having to build the super weapon. It's just already there, and they're gerrymandering it or jerry-rigging it to do whatever it needs to do, like blow up the world. So anyway, this is from, in case you haven't figured it out, Trope Talk. This is from Overly Sarcastic Productions. Came out just this month on the 10th. Has about 600,000 views. It's up 540,000. And before we get started, how's everyone's Christmas? Everyone doing okay? Are we like chilled out and mellowed and relaxed and recovered from Christmas Eve and dinner?
Well, I'm still alive.
That's good.
Yeah,
alive is a good start.
Yes,
we've had a 2-hour conversation about my Christmas, so I'm going to be quiet. So, I lived to tell the tale.
Good stuff.
You need to drink whiskey even more.
Yeah, guys, if you're learning to grow old. And I think everyone should learn to do that. And you hit the age of consent or whatever the legal limit drink is for your country. Is 17, 18, I think, around there. Some it's 21. You got to learn.
6.5.
6.5. Yeah, I know.
Yep.
little different in Italian households, no matter where you are in the world. It's like, hey, we have wine and water. What do you want? Okay, I guess I'm having wine. So
it's very different in households where your grandparents own a pub. So yes, you do get to see alcohol.
I'm surprised you never tried other things outside of beer all this time. That's amazing.
Where I grew up, lager is a very big drink. It's a very popular drink, so you sort of get it. I mean, I had my first drink at 3 years old by accident. So.
Wow. Because I grew up, I hated beer, but that's because I grew up with wine, and wine is like a sweet sort of, well, the sweet wines obviously are sweet. Mm-hmm. And when you go to beer, it's this weird frothy, I didn't even know how to describe it. It was so foul. Like it's malt and other things. So, and that was just like standard Pilsners. And I was like, whoa, what is that? I can't take that. That's disgusting. I'm never going to like that. Here I am with my juice box and, having milk and chocolate milk. And, it's like, this is delicious. I hate beer. And then you grow up, you're like, beer is awesome. It is frothy and bubbly and relaxing and soothing. And as soon as I had it, everything just sort of relaxed me. I was very happy and content.
Everything fell into place. My life seemed complete.
There's a certain mysticism about beer I can't quite describe outside of other alcohols like creams and whiskeys and liqueurs, that it's just this sociable, friendly drink, even if it's a sour or a bitter or a an infusion or whatever. There's something special about beer. I can't describe it. I think it's the bubbles, and the fact that it's ice cold has something to do with it. But I don't know.
This is why This is why the German says, wer Bier vergießt, wird aufgespießt.
And the translation to that German says...
Drink or else you will die.
Kinda. Whoever spills beer will be staked.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ. I mean, I
wait,
agree.
gets the pipe? What do you call Impaled.
Yes, stake.
That's it.
Not like a vampire.
Well, the thing that Vlad the Impaler did.
Yeah, not like a
This
vampire.
event
stake.
leads to World War One.
Oh, with the best beer maker in the world. Yeah, it's the Czech.
Well, if you've ever been out drinking with Germans or seen German tourists drinking beer
yes.
and maybe starting to stumble, or have fights while they have the beer in their hand still, and even go down and hit the ground, the beer will remain where it was and not spilling a drop. Like it's quantum locked in midair.
Don't they have steins? Well, not everyone has a stein, of course, but don't they have steins in certain beers?
It doesn't matter whether you have what you call a stein, a can, or a bottle. The German will not spill beer, because beer is a holy beverage.
Oh, it's a religion.
And it sounds like Hawk has seen this strange magical spectacle.
Yep. I was 17 years old. I was in a bar in Spain, a German man, and he drank the bar out. They ran out of alcohol. He still got up, walked out, and the beer he had didn't see a bit drop. Didn't see spill a drop. I was so impressed. I wish I could drink like that, but no.
Yes, it is that the beer moves in a stable fashion while the drunk German wobbles around it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the German turns into an electron around the proton that is the beer.
It's amazing, and the Germans can stand up to all sorts of alcohol poisoning, but Russian winters, not a chance.
Very similar to Polish weddings and the old folks. How they drink their vodka is a mystery.
Yeah,
but they're never drunk. I don't know how that works. So.
Yeah, but it's just the other way around as well. The Polish and Russians, they can't. You make them instant drunk with beer.
Oh yeah, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it works the other way around. Like Germans are immune to beer, alcohol, and the Eastern Europeans are immune to vodka alcohol.
Ah, see, this would explain maybe the Italians and their wine. I don't know yet.
Yeah,
but,
must be some evolutionary adaptation thing.
More grapes in southern or central Italy than there are grapes in climate for grapes in Russia, or Poland. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's possible.
Yeah. Well, apparently you can also put an indefinite amount of bratwurst into a beer-drinking German. And there is no way to tell where the sausage is going.
Okay.
And by occasion, the occasional bratwurst will also be dipped in the beer.
Well, yes, this is expected. I mean, you're going to cook with it. Even Irish cuisine has Guinness in their stews.
But no, not cooking. You sit at the bar or in your pub, in your beer garden. And you have bratwurst, and you have your beer in your stein. And once in a while, you take the bratwurst and you dip it in your stein.
You're
and
kidding.
eat it.
That's weird.
No, that's the thing.
That's okay. That is news to me. We don't have beer gardens here in Canada, but we do have beer halls, which are based off beer gardens. I've seen those, and we do have the Christmas market where we have outdoor seating in the snow. And they have mulled wine, as well as obviously chilled beer that is fantastic. And everyone's going for the mulled wine because that's what you do because it's Christmas. But all the smart people who like to drink, they go, no, you get the beer. It's right over there.
Yeah, so it mainly happens when the German is in a especially good mood.
Really? Okay. Well, bratwurst and sauerkraut and all these other wonderful flavors at a bar are what everyone should experience once in their life. It's not for everyone, but wow, what a great feeling to be not in Europe and still have the flavors of Europe is bratwurst and sauerkraut.
Yeah. Also, a not well-known fact is that the Bavarian, especially, does not consider a liter of beer, called a Maß, as alcohol.
Okay.
And doctors, when they prescribe medicine where you should not drink alcohol, have to tell the Bavarian patient especially that includes not even a mass of beer, because they simply do not consider one mass of beer as alcohol. That's just part of a meal. That's just part of lunch.
How about if it's only 900 milliliters? But that's
you know the issue. They're not going about it. They just don't recognize. They seriously do not recognize 1 liter of beer to be alcohol.
Well, I'm guessing most of my blood
It's
sugar
alcohol past that, but it's not the first liter is not considered alcohol.
I think
that's just part of lunch.
Most of my blood is pretty much beer powered, so there's very little actual water or other beverages. It's mostly beer, so I'm used to it by now.
It's like when you go to like a doctor's appointment and they're like, "Oh, we found some blood in your alcohol."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, thank you." I was looking at that.
What? How did that get there?
Anyway.
Yeah, how did that get there?
Anyway, let's get on with let's start the video. It's 15 minutes. Should be good. I like these kinds of conversations. I want to see how much Red screws this up. She's usually 90% fine. And then there's these ticks, as we said before, these little weird...
And there's these pimples that suddenly
cracks.
pop and
and
splotch all the slimy goop everywhere.
Yeah, it's really sad because she's clearly a smart person. She did some homework. She speaks very quickly. I think she just bypasses the idea between knowledge and ideology and just meshes them all together and spits it out, sadly.
Well, let's be honest with you, it's like, obviously my girlfriend watches this and, is quite into, like, what's taking stuff apart. And she goes, you know something, watching all these videos, why is it these people just keep talking about the destruction of Western capitalism as a way to solve all the problems? And it's like, yeah, don't worry about it. They usually go off topic. She's like, but this has nothing to do with the video that you're going over. Don't worry about it. It's perfectly fine. It's like, what was it?
You mean our stream or the video itself?
No, our stream.
Okay.
No, but like the video that we're covering, and we'll start mentioning it, and it's like that. She's like, what? I was watching one. She went, how the hell does destroying Western capitalism and installing a communist dictatorship make this movie better? How does that even work out? What's wrong with these people?
They're insane.
Yeah. Oh, and don't get me started with the Maggie May fish. She's just...
Well, just imagine replace all the communism with Christian fundamentalism, and it would be the exact same issue. Like if they said instead of you need more communism, they would say you need more Jesus.
I would.
It would be the same nonsense.
I would rather go for the more Jesus and the more communism, honestly.
That is true. That is true.
It's just less being chilling.
Yeah. I hope she doesn't butcher this topic because I like Ancient Superweapons.
I do too. Yeah.
Basically, that's Fallout. But Fallout has Ancient Superweapons. They're called recreational nukes.
There's all kinds, and this is not even in Japanese anime and gaming, but just all kinds of stories of Fallout, for example, the idea that there was some horrific war and we are the remnants of that and everyone's better now, but we find these remnants of this and that and it's components of a super weapon and we have to be careful because someone's trying to rebuild it and yada yada. So it happens almost in every other video game you might play that has a story that lasts more than 10 minutes. That.
The Forgotten Realms and Dungeons and Dragons have that stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is 80s, 90s stuff.
Yeah.
Most role-playing settings have that. I think even Vampire has something like that. Video games. Well, if you go into more of the lore, not the base book, there's nothing.
Even the Bible has it.
Oh yes.
Yeah, God himself
is the super weapon.
Yeah, you see cast the Ginungagap and then everybody's gone. But Secret of Mana had that. That was the basic. That was the point of the story.
There's always a Tower
92.
of Babylon sort of event that people are striving for. The evil, charismatic leaders are like, we must unite the world and everyone will be the same. And this is basically the communist ideal. And it all ends up in ruin. And then we learn from our mistakes. But then there's the rebels who want to fight back. And they decide to go to crank it to a 10 or 11 so they can fight back all the way. And you're like, oh, you're gonna bring back the
and
evil.
the reincarnated demon king who wants to, I don't know, resurrect a mana fortress to take over the world. Blah-de-da.
Exactly. So,
or the Sidistrils with their flying fortress
even
thing. Why is it always flying fortresses?
Even in our favorite games from yesteryear, Chrono Trigger, the flying fortress. It's literally the flying fortress. It's just, okay, yeah, we can't think of any new ideas. There must be a pattern to this. Why are we watching these things? So that's fine. I don't mind. Anyway, let's get on with it.
Yeah.
It was sponsored by World Anvil, which in retrospect absolutely is the name of an ancient superweapon that cracked the moon in half.
Yeah, sure.
No, that was
Everyone
Mohammed.
Warhammer. Yeah, okay. Warhammer. I like Warhammer.
loves a
I
MacGuffin.
said
That's literally central
I
to the
made a
definition.
religious joke.
Wait.
Hold on.
Let's go back there.
In retrospect, absolutely sounds like the name of an ancient superweapon that cracked the moon in half. Everyone loves a MacGuffin.
Everyone loves a MacGuffin?
I don't know.
Let me just
Yes, I love MacGuffin. I love
Literally the
MacGuffin.
first
They're wonderful.
sentence.
let me just process. Wait. I haven't watched this video, so I don't know what the hell. Everyone loves a plot device. Like, not really. It's like everyone likes a gear and a clock. It's like gears are good in clocks, so that's because a clock is made of
Okay.
gears.
Thank you, J.J. Abrams.
Right, okay. Everyone
One
loves.
Sentence.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Everyone loves a MacGuffin. Right, okay. Crucible from Mass Effect 3. Go. Who loves that?
Oh, God.
Come on, guys. We all love it. Come on.
This is
What is he talking about?
But Doctor Strange's stupid spell, that doesn't make sense. Why he does it. Ooh.
It's like saying everyone likes the sun. It's like, well, not if I'm dying of thirst.
Not if it gives me skin cancer.
Yeah, there's lots of things to dislike about MacGuffins. They don't have after they're discarded, no one thinks about them anymore, and they're pointless.
I don't like solar flares. They fry my computers.
This is okay. Plot devices are plot devices. It's not likable or dislikable. They have a function, and then that's that. That's, it's like, do you like salt? It's like, well, yeah, but I don't want it all the time in all of my food.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
On MacGuffins, usually not very well explained.
Well, the idea is that they're disposable, and it's the big important thing for that chapter, and then they're forgotten. So it's kind of like the key to a door of that hurdle of conflict that the protagonist has to get past. And once they get it, it's like you have the magical sword of killing God. You're like, great, and I open the door with it, and I don't need it anymore. Even though we're killing God the next chapter, but we're not using the sword that does so. So there's some discrepancy depending on the nature of the MacGuffin, how important it was to some certain people, how important it was to the narrative in general.
And see, this is the difference between just a MacGuffin, which is rather lame usually when you are a lazy writer. However, if you use it well, like the magical device it is, or can be, in the sense of, for example, Stargate SG-1, where they do come across about a lot of things you could write off as one episode MacGuffins, the magic item of the day, but they accumulate the stuff, like Indiana Jones, and make something creative out of combining them later on in the show, keep the internal consistency of what they have at their disposal, and solving with that threats they were previously incapable of.
Well, that reminds me of Stargate because you mentioned it. They had those communication stones which they brought back in Stargate Universe, which is not a bad idea, but then it opens up a whole host of plot holes because now
the universe wasn't good.
Well,
they tried some interesting things, but it generally
it was a gamble. But those stones can transfer bodies. Like you put your consciousness in another body. It's like, oh, this is new. This is crazy. And they just kept doing that. And it's like, okay, this is too much.
Yeah, and it was too confusing the way they displayed it by just flipping the actors around. So it was difficult to keep track that they're not actually looking like that in that moment.
It was a mess.
Difficult.
If they wanted to do it, they should have done it properly, and they didn't. And it's one thing to say, hey, we have the magical MacGuffin that we forgot about in episode 25 of season 8 of the original Stargate SG-1, and now it's back. because
but that's a reapplication of a MacGuffin they had previously. But other than that, what they did a lot was really repurpose and combine items they had stashed up.
yeah, we see that with
And that was great because they figured, oh, we have this problem now.
Yeah.
That if it had happened in season 1, they would be completely lost. But by season, I don't know, 5, 6 or something, they have this huge array of alien technology at their disposal.
yeah.
I can't recreate, I can still use, and use it to solve problems they were previously not capable of in creative manners. Just like a dungeon group, a dungeon crawling group, creatively applies the rules of the magic system and other items at their disposal to solve problems in a way that the dungeon master probably didn't foresee they could solve this way.
yeah, and this is
Goblin Slayer is an application of this, where the Goblin Slayer uses all the magical items in such creative ways that probably no one ever thought of before.
right
Because
and
he's so resourceful.
this is
He's
essentially-
MacGyvering everything.
this is essentially a member berry with a function that is a
Mm-hmm.
lore specific thing. So if you like Stargate, and at the time I liked Stargate, watching SGU, I was like, this is an interesting idea. Hey, I remember that. They have these things and they do that. This could be a good idea. And they just don't know how to use it in a story, let alone a plot. And this is the problem with using lore that, oh, I remember that. That's a great idea. And they just ruin it. Like there's so many in Star Trek and they just forget about them. Like the consciousness of that researcher who transferred into data and they transferred into the computer of the Enterprise. And it's like, did that do anything? Nope. No one cares. Didn't.
Yeah,
When
that's
they had to reduce warp speed because it was making holes in the galaxy.
Well, that was the nth degree with Barclay, and he another thing with like that's another MacGuffin where he had his genius brain just brought down back to reality, but some of it remained, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
is it gonna like is he off the charts in IQ? Like what's happening? Never brought that up again. So,
Or what about that one where Picard lives that entire life on that planet?
he could play the flute. That's it. He just can play the
Yep.
flute.
Yeah,
Nothing more.
That did remain. That did remain.
Yeah, that's
In
nice. But
No. But like in the books, they expand on all his knowledge, but it's a bit like after that, it never got. Considering the fact that Star Trek wasn't just Star Trek Next Generation wasn't just a bunch of singular episodes. There was a sort of overarching, they did reference older episodes in certain ways happening.
barely. It was tough. With Picard, they could have done a lot more, like, his understanding of families and his acceptance of children,
Yeah.
and his musical skills and other like farming skills, whatever he learned in a lifetime.
But Smud, he needed to not understand children, so in Star Trek Generations, his nephew could burn to death in a fire.
Oh God.
Oh, we don't talk about Generations.
Well, at least he has that picture book.
I am convinced that the movies already play in a different timeline than TNG does.
I'll go with that.
The timeline of the
Those are
fucking
different
show.
characters.
Yeah. Well,
I have the movies are like what I class as what Picard. That's the lead on to Picard. The Next Generation, no, different universes. It's the
It's the mirror universe.
Yeah.
the Dark.
The Next Generation is the real universe.
Yeah.
With DS9, that's also the real universe. Voyager is weird, but it's still the real universe.
Yeah. Well,
But all the other stuff, that's other universes.
I think there's enough to like and hate in Voyager to accept. All right, there's something. there.
It's just.
See, the Generation movies are the same as like Die Hard, because they kept making Patrick Stewart dress up as Bruce Willis for some reason.
But there's a show that is based on MacGuffins that it has its weaknesses, but I think it has a lot of charm. That is Warehouse 13. If anyone saw that, yeah, that's basically the idea to play on the. You remember the ending scene of Indiana Jones, where you have the giant warehouse where the Ark of the Covenant is stored. And the idea is that this kind of warehouse exists, and it's not just some warehouse. It is a warehouse where all the mythical items are stored that exist in human history, and they're kept there for safety from misuse. And there is the super secret agency, Ancient Order, that protects it, which is like 5 people or something. And so every show is another MacGuffin, like they're hunting for magic items that still have to be recovered or found or were stolen. And over time, as you get to know more of them, and as they are basically... Well, they're basically clerks, making sure that all the items are stored properly and in the right places and don't have weird magical things going on with each other. Because sometimes you store the things wrong, then you get stupid effects happening. There are some episodes where that are just paperwork, which I find great when they delve into things like that and don't just go with the daily adventure villain of the week, or in this case, item of the week thing. And in the later seasons as well, they come up with combinations of things or creative solutions to things. And I'd say it's worth a watch. And I bring it up because so it's not a super amazing show. It's just it's endearing, I'd say. And I bring it up because it fits right into the trope. Well, her first line of "Everybody loves the MacGuffin." I don't know about that, but that's the show that loves MacGuffins.
All right. Good enough for me.
Let's see the next sentence.
Okay.
It's literally sent to the definition. A MacGuffin is a plot device that drives the plot only by being a thing everybody wants. It doesn't matter what the MacGuffin actually is or what it does, just to what lengths the characters are willing to go to get it. That's why...
Okay, so she means the characters in the story, not people in general. Okay, fine. That's fine.
Oh,
No, it's not that. There needs to be... The MacGuffin needs a function, otherwise there's no reason to have it.
Well,
no, it doesn't.
The function is relevant.
well,
The function can be anything, but it has to be something that the characters want, because the MacGuffin is just the thing that enables the function.
right, but
That's why it exists.
we could talk about the Maltese Falcon, and it's not even the real one, but in the movie at least, if you guys have seen it, it doesn't do anything. It's just an object of desire, and everyone's looking for it and trying to find it. So it would be nice if MacGuffins did something, like, as I said, a key for a door to progress the story, but that's the whole plot, is to find the Maltese Falcon. So
What about a MacGuffin that's got like blueprints and you know how to build it, but you don't know what it does?
Okay, yeah, let's not try and bring up Mass Effect 3 if we don't have to. That's
Oh, come on! We're talking about MacGuffins here. That's like the biggest like MacGuffin that's ever existed.
yeah, the worst kind ever existed.
Yeah. You can't do a video about it and not bring it up.
Yeah, but it's a MacGuffin that's a Deus Ex Machina for another. It's just a series of Deus Exes. You just sit there like, this is the craziest line of logic.
It answers all questions, but raises so many more questions that doesn't really matter about those answers.
Have you then really solved the problem?
It just boggles the mind.
The only thing it solved was, I don't know.
It solved Casey Hudson's paycheck. That's what it did.
Yeah.
Is it, or is it just, I don't care how it ends, just make it go away?
Pretty much.
To be honest with you, nor did BioWare. BioWare didn't care how it ended, so...
No, they didn't. No, it was... We need to make a game, guys. What do we do?
When the person who's created, like, in story-wise, the person who created the MacGuffin doesn't know what the MacGuffin does.
Well, when you have... How
is that possible? How can you invent something and not know what it does?
When you have a giant armored
J.J. Abrams
ball that looks like a microphone, and you put a propeller at the end of it in space, you've pretty much given up. You've done no work. You just like objects in space spinning around, make them round, just throw it up there. No one cares.
And also,
how about instead you plan out your story of your trilogy of decisions?
Planning.
No, Whisp.
Thoughts.
No, Whisp.
Paper,
What? No, we need.
That
we just
takes
need.
work.
lines and arrows, connecting thing. No, that's
No.
too confusing for me.
Nah.
But it's also a bit like, I bet you, if you actually ask anyone on the Bioware writing team what the Crucible does, Village will just go, "Oh, it's space magic."
Yeah, they admitted they had no plan. They didn't know what the fuck went
Well,
on
that's-
anyway.
But it's like,
such a letdown.
so that's why I'm always like, when they say MacGuffins, I'm like, you can't just like, you have to know what a MacGuffin does. Otherwise, you've just destroyed your entire story. If the MacGuffin can do anything, it's like, well, what's the stakes?
Doesn't Arnold in Terminator 1 taking out his nuclear bomb battery and say, "This is a nuclear bomb," and then putting it back for absolutely no reason? Is that not also a MacGuffin?
Not really.
Not really. No one's after it, are they?
It's just a battery.
Do you need to be after the MacGuffin? I thought it's just a plot device in general.
Isn't that in the third Terminator movie?
Third, yes.
I remember.
Yeah, he has two
No,
nuclear
It's
generators.
too
or-
dumb of a scene to be in the first two movies.
Yeah, it's too crazy. Every Terminator has two nuclear generators or whatever batteries in their chest. You're like, oh shit, that's kind of dangerous.
And that,
Yeah,
it's
why don't you
out
just
in the-
blow them up? Why
Clean
don't you just
energy.
blow the Terminators up? That would root out the rebels so far.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that would solve a lot of problems. But I guess Skynet cares about the environment and doesn't want nuclear fallout everywhere.
They're really into this renewable energy shit.
Robots
Yeah,
don't care
the-
about radiation.
The major problem is it's like Skynet's run by Greta Thunberg in the future, so they can't, destroy the environment.
But you can
They can
kill
wipe out
humans.
humanity, but
Yeah. Radiation can kill the humans, but not the plants. It's like, are you sure about that, Greta?
We gotta go for CO2 negative.
yeah. That's why none of them are gas.
Oh no!
Wikipedia says, in fiction, a MacGuffin is an object, device, or event that is necessary to the plot and the motivation of the characters, but insignificant,
Event?
unimportant, or irrelevant in itself.
Yeah, this is basically, think of a plot point, and the MacGuffin is the door to get to the next plot point. So you have to go through this hurdle that is via the MacGuffin. So the key, I always say the key to the door, because it could be anything, but the key is the most basic concept, because the key represents the only way for the story to progress is to go through that door. And then we talk about, is the door bounded by other areas, like an impossible wall? Is there something in front of the door? And we always say the lock to the door. That's why MacGuffin is usually key, because that's the only way the story has to progress, because that's all we're given, as opposed to just walking around the wall or just getting to your destination in another fashion. So we have to incorporate the idea of a locked door for the story to progress to the next plot point. So it's not the plot; it's a subplot or a minor plot to the main plot. You were saying, Wisp.
In that sense, could you say that the apocalypse that brought out the Fallout world, which is the basis for its setting, is also would also be a MacGuffin, because part of the world is to rebuild it.
Well, you're talking about stories that had a past where
There would be a motivation thing.
you're
So it's an event that drives the motivation of the people.
well, yeah, it's the same with a flashback for a character. Why are the way they are? There's some instigating factor, and it's not so much a plot device because you're talking about a flashback. You're saying this is what happened in the world or in this person's history, and that is why they are the way they are. The MacGuffin aspect has to deal with a object or goal that everyone wants. So either the antagonist and protagonist both want the key to get through the door. And you see this a lot in fantasy where they're all striving for the magical whatever to get to the door first. They could all get to the ancient Shambhala temple and whatever. So it's kind of that concept as opposed to just a mitigating factor in their development or in the history of the world. So it's the same idea though. You're talking about why something is the way it is. Why are you getting the golden fleece? What is the point of getting the holy sword? Why do you want to save the world? That sort of thing. So it's a physical, literal object that solves a minor hurdle so that you can keep going to the next minor hurdle to continue the story. That's it. Anyway, let's continue. The Swedish Chef, thank you for the 2. What if the MacGuffin is a big, stupid jellyfish?
Okay.
Sure. It could be anything, really.
Yeah.
If the story wants it, sure, why not? I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
What anime was that?
Just pick any anime that has cute girls where they wear, hoods that have squid arms sticking out, and that's pretty much.
Huh. Okay.
There you go.
The Ikamusume was a squid, though.
Oh, really? Oh, you're right. One of them is. One
not
of
a
them was.
jellyfish.
Yeah, was she a jellyfish? Oh,
No, she was
slime.
a squid.
Slime.
No, Ikamusume is a squid.
Monster Musume.
No, Ikamusume.
Ika. I don't know that one.
Ika?
Yeah, is it?
Was it Ikamusume? Let me check the name.
See, my
Pretty sure it was
knowledge
Ika.
of anime has to deal with women and girls. That
It's a cute anime about. Yes, it was Ikamusume.
okay? I don't know it.
Squid Girl. And
Squid
it's
Girl.
a very cute. It's a very, very cute anime about, well, a little squid girl that helps out in a seafood shop restaurant at the beach. It's comedy and it's just cute.
Well,
Very cool.
when I refer to Monster Musume, you'll see the vast difference between Ika.
Oh, there's 22 volumes of manga.
Oh,
Amazing.
all right.
All right.
Anyway, this is not technically a manga anime day stream, but we could talk about it. It's not a big deal. Let's get back to the super chats and get back to the video. Turmoil, thanks for the 5. A MacGuffin is an object around which the plot is focused. That's true. If it's mentioned but not focused, then it's Chekhov's gun, assuming it's used later.
Thank you.
Not
Thank you. That was the term I that was on the tip of my tongue that I.
Well, okay,
That's what I meant with Arnold's battery thing.
Okay, well,
That
yeah,
confused me for a moment because I couldn't find the word.
the thing with this is too broad a term. If it's mentioned but not focused, well, you can mention anything in a story, right? You could mention the feelings of a character as he's going through the motions before he gets from A to B. That's not Chekhov's gun. That's just exposition. So when we say Chekhov's gun, the literal sense is a description in one of Chekhov's stories where he mentions the gun on the wall. And that's either to imply, oh, this guy was a soldier in his previous life, that's a memento from the family. But he also says, if it's not useful to the plot, I don't want to read about it. I don't want to mention it. I don't want to use that time to distract the reader or the audience.
I'd say a Chekhov's gun that is not used is not just not a Chekhov's gun, it is a red herring.
That's another term that's loaded because we talk about red herrings in mystery stories a lot, where you should have red herrings, and we have entire scenes of exposition we called leading people down the garden path, where we investigate every possibility or every suspect. And we try to figure out what their plot is, and we say, oh, this is their motivation, great, but how are they involved? Are they lying about their plot? Are they lying about where they were? And we have to figure that out as we go, because it's basically a psychology game that once you understand the character of these suspects, then you say, is this the kind of person that is lying to you? And if so, what's their persona? What are they really like? Are they conniving? Are they really smart, but they're trying to hide it? And that comes out.
It's almost like a hole in a donut, and inside that hole is another smaller hole.
I would say my Tim Hortons World of Canada, where we have plenty of donuts. It's a jelly-filled donut, but it's really a Boston cream donut, but you don't know.
I was making a Knives Out joke, but anyway.
Oh God, why would you do that?
Are you? Do you know where the term red herring comes from?
The etymology, no.
Okay, it was a text adventure originally. I'm not sure whether it was Eye of the Beholder, but it was a text adventure. One of the items in the game you could find was a red herring.
Mhm.
And imagine for better imagine it easier. Think of Monkey Island or the Indiana Jones LucasArts games or any of the LucasArts adventure games, where you have all these items and you solve different puzzles with them. And sometimes you need to combine the items, and then your character says a creepy line when it doesn't work, or you can't combine these things, or how would I do that? That's stupid. Or other way more hilarious things. And that game also had red herring that you could find and have in your inventory.
Ooh.
And what you usually do in those games is you are stuck somewhere and then you keep trying every single item you have with the puzzle you're stuck with. And of course, players think, I still haven't found a use for the red herring. Where can I use the red herring? And, well, the joke was that the developers put in the red herring deliberately without it having any use at all in the game. It was just there to confuse the player, to make him think that he can use it somewhere.
Yeah, there are elements of logic we can talk about and philosophy. Like,
so the red herring means an item to mislead you into thinking it is useful or means anything when really it doesn't.
Right. This happens a lot in arguments where they just have a seemingly relevant distraction, but it's not part of any argument. It's just it's an anecdote sometimes. That's related, but has nothing to do with the argument the person's trying to make. So there's all kinds of rhetorical examples of a red herring, but classically we're talking about literature. It's specific to mystery, and it's to distract the audience or to give the illusion of distraction, because you want to fill in the blanks as much as possible, and the audience to figure out what is relevant, what is not. And that's pretty difficult in a lot of mystery stories, unless they're told in a very clean way. So usually in British Golden Age style mysteries, not American is like novel-sized books nowadays, especially in the 1930s, but not for everyone. But red herrings, Chekhov's guns, these are all literary devices, so not a big deal. Okay, 20 seconds in. Good.
Despite the popularity of the term, some plot devices aren't MacGuffins. Sometimes what the plot device can do is actually central to the plot, and there are very few more illustrative examples of this than the ancient...
Yes, plot devices are in fact central to a plot. That's generally how...
Yeah, but
Hooray!
MacGuffins, after I just looked at the all ever true perfect Wikipedia thingy, the MacGuffin is necessary to the plot.
Yes.
Whether that means central to the plot, I don't know, but it is necessary.
Yeah, same thing. It's like, no shit. It's not like some distraction. Hey, let's paint the walls yellow. It's like, why? I like yellow paint. Like, no.
Yeah, but does that mean she just said something objectively wrong?
It's like saying the water is wet. It's like, thank you, we get it.
She just said that MacGuffin is not central to the plot.
Wait,
necessarily.
Let me rewind that.
When that is not true, it is central to the plot, like the Holy Grail.
To get it. That's why, despite the popularity of the term, some plot devices aren't MacGuffins. Sometimes what the plot device can do is actually central to the plot, and
No, she's talking about a plot device in general, and MacGuffin specifically.
Then I mixed it up.
All right.
Happens.
There are very few more illustrative examples of this than the Ancient Superweapon. This is a very specific plot device with a very simple...
It's not necessarily a plot device. It's just part of a story where the story hinges on the Doomsday scenario where the heroes have to stop the bad guys. And it could be...
Final Fantasy VII with those ancients. I believe that. They were literally ancients.
Sometimes
I can't remember the name.
Sometimes they don't.
Yeah, it's not, this is just, it's like describing a tree. A tree could be part of a story, but it doesn't have to be. The forest is just there because elves are there and they have to live somewhere. So this is just an explanation for our brains to wrap around, which assumes time happened a long period ago where there was a civilization who made stuff. And the thing they made was so deadly, like in that episode of Stargate Atlantis, I think it was wiped. It was the planet that Rodney McCade blew up, and they had this weapon that was discharging. It wasn't actually a weapon, but it looked like a gun, It was discharging all the energy from a 0-point experiment they were doing.
Yeah, he blew up the solar system.
Yeah, he thought he could control it. He was wrong. And this is the explanation as to why all these people died off. And you're like, okay, I guess that's one way of
And
looking.
it was a nice running gag to then tease him every other episode about how he fucked up so much he blew up a solar system.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. He became the solar system.
Actual characters in Atlantis.
Gave him a verb off his name. It's fantastic. Yeah. So, yes, it can be a scenario. It can be an event. It can be an object, but it's not necessarily a plot device. So, no.
Premise. An advanced civilization or a visionary way ahead of their time produced a powerful weapon of some kind which was then lost to history. Modern power-hungry people are now searching for this ancient superweapon for usually evil conquest purposes. It is almost 100% guaranteed that by the end of the
Not necessarily. It's not necessarily lost. In some cases, like for example, Scrap Princess had several super weapons still available. Some, of course, were just ancient spaceships that were crashed and just grew moss over them. So they were basically lost in the wilderness. But there were also strategic weapon level spells that basically functioned as super weapons,
right.
like with the destructive power of nuclear bombs.
Yeah, this is,
and they still had that available. They were just very, very, very reluctant to use them.
right. And I remember Mark mentioned Final Fantasy VII. There's all kinds of weapons that are huge and ancient weapons, and the planet has multiple versions of weapons to defend the planet with. So that becomes an ongoing story, not just in Final Fantasy VII, but all the Final Fantasies. There's always
all the Final. I believe like there's not a single Final Fantasy without an ancient super weapon.
Yeah, and it goes through magic, technology, a mix of both. You name it, it's there. So
Final Fantasy tends to be magic is just science, but with different degrees of revelation of that.
Yeah.
Like Final Fantasy IX looks like a perfect fantasy world, but it's all technology.
And 10 is
what you call Mystic Quest, maybe? Final Fantasy Adventures. That was the intermediary between.
We don't talk about that.
Final Fantasy. I liked it. Between Final Fantasy and Secret of Mana. That basically was that. As well.
It was a prank. It was just a prank.
It was a prank.
The Japanese were like, oh, it's fucking Westerners again. But they're telling us that our games are too complex. Okay, fuck you. We're gonna make you the most dumbed down Final Fantasy ever.
Mystic Quest. Bravo.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a fun game, but yeah.
Yeah, Game Boy, the Game Boy version that we had, they had like, I don't know, a 60-page manual with tiny script. It was great.
Oh
Loved it. But I think Sword of Mana later on was the remake of it, more or less, in the proper Secret of Mana universe.
Oh.
Where it went into the actual, gave you actual backstory and everything. But that aside, not usually when, or that is the pattern I'm seeing, is when you have these ancient lost super weapons that the villain tries to get to. They are lost so that the villain has easy access to it. That's mainly the reason why.
Ancient superweapon will be destroyed or lost again, even harder this time, to avoid falling into the wrong hands. The associated moral is almost always that this weapon is simply too dangerous to exist. Sometimes it's even explicit that the ancient superweapon caused the destruction of the ancient civilization that created it in the first place, and while absolute power might very well sound good on paper, unleashing it will end very badly for anyone involved. Now, there's many different flavors of ancient superweapons, some more twisty than others, but they almost always follow the exact same general plot structure, which goes like this. First, the villain or villains learn of the existence of the ancient superweapon. This is the inciting incident. If the heroes are looking for the ancient superweapon...
No, it doesn't. No. This could happen well into the near ending of the story, where you learn about this in exposition. And it's like, oh, you were the key component to the super weapon. You had no idea, and we played you like a fiddle all this time. There's all kinds of things we don't know about the mystery of the ancient group or the ancient weapon or this or that. So maybe in a linear fashion for the antagonist, but not in a linear fashion of the story. So no.
Yeah. And I may be getting the story wrong because last time I played it was when I was, 12 or something. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. LucasArts adventure. The basic goal was get to Atlantis, unearth its secrets, while being faster than the Nazis. And what you found in Atlantis was, you didn't know this yet, but what you found was a device to turn yourself into a god. If you use the right amount of orichalcum, press the right buttons, etc., etc. Which then, of course, went horribly wrong, as it always does.
That was cool. The orichalcum beads, those were really fun.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't currency; it was just their energy source. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, and you took a stone mug, get some lava, and then put that into some giant machine, and out came like a bead, a tiny bead. Awesome graphic, awesome pixel graphics back in the day. Yeah, but most of the plot, I think, nobody was aware of what you could actually do in Atlantis. You just knew they had this weird ancient technology stuff, and whatever we find will be useful. Because that's usually what the Nazis did in the Indiana Jones stories. They tried to get the mythical thing and didn't yet know what it does. Well, with the exception of the Grail, I suppose. And then hope to be able to utilize it in some way.
You see, that could actually be turned into, well, at the time in the 80s, that could have been turned into, or the 90s rather, because the game came out in the 90s, I think, into a movie. Because all the basic components were there. Obviously, you can't do puzzles too often, and you have to have action scenes.
Fate of Atlantis had such a good plot, so many places to go, and it had basically 3 ways to play it. There was the punch your way through the game, have harder puzzles, or have easier puzzles with your with the female support character. And so it had replay value, and you could go different routes in the game for earlier parts of it. It was great. It was really great. And out of all of that, you could have made a fitting Indiana Jones movie. Much better than this Crystal Skull nonsense.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, God. If they just took that game and said, hey, we could adapt this to the movies, we just have to, obviously you can't adapt gameplay very well, but a lot of the puzzles you could probably use visually. They worked fine. The mechanics were there. The fight scenes obviously need to be a little bit grandiose, to be a little boring if they were just point and click. But that would have been fantastic. I remember playing that game back in the day.
You were on a submarine, but fighting your way through a Nazi submarine while it was getting to Knossos on Creta.
Yeah, it was some Greek island. Yeah, can't remember all the places you went.
Yeah. It was great fun.
Great
and then
stuff.
You got your and once you got hold of the submarine, the next puzzle was to maneuver it through the Aegean Sea into the secret underwater opening port of Atlantis. Because Atlantis, this sunken city, was actually available underwater.
I do remember the Arabic guy always, every time he taught him, Salam Effendi. He'd always say that to me.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I learned a little bit of the different languages. Anyway.
He was cute, and he was constantly readjusting his fez.
Yeah, that's, cute. I remember those. Fantastic game. If you guys can,
That was also a parrot.
if you can emulate that game nowadays, go for it. Anyway.
2, it'll be because of archaeological implications or because they don't know that it's a weapon. It's generally unheroic to want a powerful weapon, so they're not allowed to be searching for it for power hunger reasons. The villains start looking for the ancient superweapon, possibly looping the heroes in along the way. Maybe they kidnap them, trick them into...
But what if that weapon isn't necessarily like a weapon or like a power source, let's say, and but the villain can use it for like a weapon?
Yeah.
And
like Legend of Korra.
I think she's just going off of Laputa.
I don't know what she's talking about specifically. It could be many things, but this is not the formula. This is not a standard plot for an ancient. The Ancient Superweapon is just a device. The plot is something else. This is not a typical story.
I think she's just going off of Laputa.
There's so many examples. You cannot properly say this is a standard plot for an Ancient Superweapon. Look at Final Fantasy VI. The thing that blows up the world are just 3 magical statues that Kefka got crazy one day, started shifting them around, and the whole balance of the world started messing up, and he stood in the middle of them, and he started shooting death lasers and blowing away continents.
Turn himself into a god.
Yeah, it's like, there's no reason behind that. There's no logic. He had no idea what he was doing.
Yeah, but I mean, there's loads of like, the Ancient Superweapons is such an old trope.
I mean, what was the goal of the Sinistrals in Lufia? Because I forgot. Because they had a flying demon island already, with which they could fire death lasers anywhere they wanted. What was their goal?
Yeah, Whisp, for God's sake, Halo, the entire series is named after Ancient Superweapons.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's a whole series just named after one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Secret of Mana was not to stop the Mana Fortress; it was to stop the enemies from even activating it. Like you heard about it, but then it was just there for a while because they still hadn't figured out how to use it. You could say, they're trying to stop it, but in Secret of Mana, the moment you learn about the Mana Fortress, you know it's a weapon. I mean, she says it's a standard Ancient Superweapon plot, but there are so many variants on that I wouldn't even say that the protagonists knowing or not knowing whether it is a super weapon can be part of the definition, because that is completely random whether they know it or don't know it.
I do remember some of the plot of Mass Effect Andromeda, where they find the remnant terraforming thing, and they just sort of neglect it. Like, yeah, whatever, we'll just go to the next planet. They don't bother to research it or understand its importance. They just keep going. It's just a go-to. It's just, let's keep going to the next story. Such an important device to at least have a mystery. Like that was the interesting thing. It's like, what is this ancient race really trying to do? What's the big deal? The same idea. The Jordan or whatever. The Jardiniera. I love Jardin. It tastes delicious.
Don't you get it? It's a pun on garden.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Don't you get it? Because gardens grow.
No, I didn't.
They were growing civilizations. Do you not get it?
I honestly did not even think of that, because I don't care. I hate it.
I only realised it 5 seconds ago when I was thinking about it again.
Oh, God.
Don't you just love Andromeda?
Oh,
it's great.
It's great, yeah.
I'm so glad we got that interesting storyline that will never be completed.
Hawk, I hate you. Because that even makes biblical sense.
Yeah, it does, yeah. Anyway, Merry Christmas.
Aren't you excited for Andromeda 2 that they falsely call Mass Effect 4?
Yeah. It's great,
to get people to consider buying it, although it's false advertisement.
There is no real Mass Effect 5. It's just Mass Effect 4. No one talks about Andromeda anymore.
Yeah, but that's why they don't want to talk about Andromeda 2, although it's set in Andromeda.
What? No, it's not. They're not making.
I just read that one line that was posted in a channel.
No, they're not making. They're not making a. There's no way they're making a sequel to Andromeda. There's no.
Well, that's why they call it Mass Effect 4.
Okay.
But it plays in Andromeda.
Okay.
And they don't want to call it Andromeda 2 because they know nobody would buy it. So they have to false advertise.
I'm already being depressed in the past minute when Hawk started talking about words. So let's get back.
I didn't even finish that sentence. I just started getting depressed when Hawk started talking. Oh.
Does Hawk need to talk about words or just use words
when he said
that make you depressed?
The Andromeda word, I'm like, oh no, that's specifically an Andromeda term. I remember it. Oh shit.
Yeah. See, these things are all in my mind. They're safely tucked away. I repress these memories until I do Smudcast. I'm like, oh, this could be a interesting time to torture people.
Yeah, it's like comic books. Mac Walters, like, no, please stop.
And I realised that Mac Walters has a stiffy for disintegration.
Really?
Yeah, a lot. Like when he did his Wolverine run, Wolverine kept getting disintegrated in ways similar to how Commander Shepard gets disintegrated. And I was like, Mac, seriously, have you got a fetish for this or something? Like, it seems like a very specific thing. But hey ho. Ancient Superweapons.
All right.
Keep going.
Back to her generic, completely subjective way of describing the standard Ancient Superweapon plot.
Trick them into help it, etc., etc. If the villains don't force their involvement, the heroes will be looking for it on their own. And as a corollary, lots of heroes seem to think something like, if we get the MacGuffin first, we can protect it from the villain. But usually the villain just waits for them to disarm all the crazy traps and get through the riddles guarding the thing before swooping in with
Not usually. What the hell are you talking? What the hell are you talking about? Have you seen only 2 things in your life?
Yeah, even with
Did you say this is usually the thing? What the hell?
even in Andromeda, they get there first, they do their thing, then they leave, and then the Teletubby villain just stands there and goes, huh?
That fucking monkey.
Yeah.
That fucking stupid-looking monkey.
Yeah.
But you could rather since you love to talk about tropes, and usually you make lots of mistakes like this one, the whole let the heroes disarm all the traps and or show the way through the dungeon, while the villain then turns up and says, "Thank you for doing all the hard work for me, Mr. Jones," or something like that. You could consider that a trope in itself,
Right.
at this point.
Yeah, the villains aren't stupid. Well, they are, but for that point in the story, they're like, you did all the hard work? I'm going to sit back, have you make all the risk until what's-his-face from the Nazi regime decides to think the Cup of Christ is a jewel-enabled brass goblet.
Yes.
Yeah, but the thing is, I wouldn't say this is usually the thing that happens.
Exactly.
I want more examples than that.
Yeah, she's just making shit up.
Yeah, Lupin. This movie was fun, by the way.
Oh, it's a great movie.
And the Lupin movies and the series seasons, they play a lot on all the classic ways to tell stories for fun, and they usually do it very well.
Yeah, and the animation in Lupin, at least the 3D one there, one of the best anime 3D looking movies I've seen.
Yeah. Also, good little character moments.
Well, Lupin is a great story. Anyway, it's fun. It's a fun story.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's an oddly common trope considering how broadly unwise it is. Next, the villains inevitably acquire control of the ancient superweapon, frequently during the darkest hour plot beat. Expect villainous gloating and damseled protagonists, and if the weapon has a twist, it will be revealed here. Maybe the villain will unleash the superweapon only to find it's something completely uncontrollable, like an instant face melter or a nanite grey goo scenario, or a super plague that takes them out first. Or maybe the ancient superweapon is actually sentient and turns into an even bigger villain. There's about a 50-50 shot the villain will be able to control what they unleash, but either way, the heroes oppose this new threat, whether that's the newly powered-up villain.
Let's just say everything she says is 50-50. We have no idea where she's getting this or how she's cobbling this logic together.
Not TV tropes, that's for sure.
I don't even know what order she's going in and how she got there. She's just making stuff up now.
All right.
It feels like Indiana Jones, but everything else is like a sentient weapon. You're like, could you narrow it down?
Going off of like the 4 things she's watched in her life or read.
A sentient superweapon. I'm trying to think. The only one that I could.
Lilarcor in the sewers of Art Cutler. The talking sword that kills you by making you want to kill yourself because you can't get rid of it.
Lilarcor, yeah.
Well, would you class the Overmarkers from Dead Space as a sentient superweapon? Because they're a bit of a iffy spot for me.
Well, we never got to the point to figure out what they're actually there for, except for making Brethren moons.
Yeah, but they're still like a weapon to be used against people, and they're ancient.
Yeah, but humanity can't properly control them. It just turns humanity into wanting to use the things and to turn into Brethren moons. And sadly, the story was never continued, so we'll not even know what the fuck these things are going for.
Is it the same?
Someone built these things for the very purpose of creating Brethren moons.
Well, you could have a object have multiple uses, like we talk about the Mass Effect story. The keepers are just there to make sure everything's in order, but they also activate the keepers do that. They activate the
they activate the Citadel relay.
Yeah, so it's
apart from in Mass Effect 3.
Right. Yeah. So
the markers wouldn't be the sentient super weapon. They just create the sentient super weapon that is the Brethren wound.
Yeah, it's always some sort of demon trapped in something or another dimension, or they were sleeping for all this time, or they were locked away, and that's why there was a big lock on the door, and da-da-da, no one knows, the books have been burned, and da-da-da. Sometimes it's a cute girl, who knows, we never know. It's always strange in Japanese worlds. Geez, that reminds me of Xenogears.
I was just wondering.
Oh yes, in Xenoblade, the ancient super weapon is in your party.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to fight the other ancient super weapon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh my god, it's not another Dragon Age Inquisition, is it?
Oh no, the villainous ancient super weapon could easily destroy the entire world just like that. He just doesn't because that would be boring.
Yeah, that's not. Is it
which I found great.
In Xenosaga, you have that party member who could blow away a planet or a star system. Did she destroy a star system? I can't remember what it was.
Cosmos. I never got around to actually play Xenosaga. But yeah, Cosmos' weapons are bonkers.
Yeah. I could.
That is because I think she gets her power from the... What was the device called? Some conduit thing?
Not the Zohar modifier, not that thing. That's something else.
No? She didn't get her powers from the Zohar?
That was the first game. I honestly did not remember.
Oh, but the Zohar exists in Xenoblade as well.
Oh god, really?
Yes, because that's another world dimension story thing, and at the end, spoilers, it actually disappears. And the world returns to more normal-ish thingies. So because the power source for all these super mech things is gone. They don't work anymore. That's the ending.
It's too much. Honestly, there's too much lore. It's too confusing. I just sat there like, okay, this is not for me. It's too crazy. It's too
great. I love it.
Too Japanese, too German. There's so many words. What? Yeah, I know, it's crazy. There's religion, there's technology, there's languages, there's spaceships. I don't know what's going on. It's crazy.
It's great. I think Xenosaga has Jesus in it.
Probably.
Oh, that was that Shin Megami Tensei.
Well, if you have a bunch of dudes crucified, and your dude gets reincarnated multiple times, and he fights himself, it's like, okay, this, yeah.
Just sounds like Fallout New Vegas, really, with all the crucifixions.
No. I think Jesus is also in Xenosaga.
Jesus can be whatever he wants. As the Son of God,
I need maybe I'll just
play on emulator.
Because I don't think at this point that I'll get any original versions of the game anymore. That they cost fortunes.
Yeah, well, being associated anything with Xeno anything makes you wish for a nuclear winter. So
no, it's awesome. It's great.
Anyway,
let's go.
Keep going with this video because
using the superweapon or the unleashed superweapon itself. Finally, the heroes succeed and the superweapon is destroyed, often by turning the weapon on itself so it self-destructs. A lesson is learned by all, except the villain, who is almost always dead at this point. Now, this is a very specific plot structure, but it makes a lot of sense. The heroes need a reason to want
Yeah, but you invented it in your head.
to find the superweapon, otherwise the villains will just get a hold of it and wreak havoc unopposed. And the hero's reason usually can't be too selfish, since that'd be intrinsically unheroic of them, so unless they're bordering on villain protagonist status, they can't be seeking the weapon for weapon purposes. Either they want it for their own reasons, or the villains get them involved for their nefarious reasons. The villain almost always
Yes, evil
seeks
side.
to use the
Hold on.
superweapon because it's more interesting.
Oh, sorry, Smud. I keep yeah. Or hear me out here, Red. Or they just don't want to die.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually a good reason to stop villain.
Yeah,
They don't want to die.
The bad guys are going to get this powerful thing. We need to get it before they do.
Yeah, it's like one of the only good lines out of like Marvel movies that I enjoy is Star-Lord, "I'm one of the idiots who lives in the galaxy." That's reason enough to save the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
It's true though. It's like, yeah, you happen to live there. You don't want to die. If the villain gets the ancient superweapon, they're probably going to kill everybody. So, yeah, weird. There's loads of reasons to stop a villain.
Weird how heroes work, huh? It's like saving the galaxy.
Yeah,
How does that work?
They need a reason to stop the villain. Well,
Not necessarily related to the plot.
Villain anyway. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw myself in their guns. Just stand in the way.
Yeah, it's like that. The
In,
evil Lord Death is trying to take over the galaxy, and the hero's like, "Well, until he gets an ancient super weapon, I'm not going to step in and do anything."
You can. I think you can make the argument that in Wheel of Time, the books, not this garbage that they made. There are several you could say magical super weapons that they rather not use because they're just too powerful. But that the actual MacGuffin super weapon in the whole plot is the main character, because it all rests on him, whether he's corrupted to the dark side or not, and stops the Dark One. And he's the most powerful magic user. He just doesn't know how to use things right. He still has to learn all of that, and he can mess it up very easily. While having to stave off going insane due to so he's the reincarnated version of the original guy he's named after. Problem is that the already insane consciousness of that original guy is in his head and talking to him or past him all the time, and that's a bit different than what Red's talking about. It doesn't fit at all, because the few super weapons in that story that turn up or are just mentioned on the side, they're almost insignificant compared to what everything's actually about.
Yeah, I mean, she could be talking about a love triangle. It's like boy meets girl, girl does not like guy, guy keeps trying, girl ends up liking guy, second guy comes in, falls for, like, you could talk a little more generically that way, but not every story is like that. Especially not nowadays when you watch like the Hallmark Channel or whatever, and there's all these Christmas specials with women caroling and finding some bum, and he's a great ex-millionaire or whatever. And he's
no, Smud. It's strong, independent businesswoman moves to small town.
Yes.
Meets guy from high school. She falls for a guy of high school. Her dream job becomes available in the city. She decides to go back to her dream job, gets halfway there, then decides that love needs to conquer all, comes back and lives happily ever after.
God bless.
How many times have I watched those movies?
Yeah, it's all Christmas themed. There's always caroling. There's some angel involved. Not really. They're just in the background.
Also, the guy may or may not be called Nick.
They're all white.
No,
they're
because
all generically white. It's hilarious. I don't know who writes these things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh boy. Anyway, yeah, I could see you hang out with your girlfriend a lot.
Yeah.
Also,
Anyway, back to Cosmos blowing up planets with her uterus.
Yes.
what?
Oh, you ever saw that animation? Her uterus blows away planets. Amazing.
What? No.
Don't question. Just consume.
for the villain to get X power up than it would be for them to fail, although some Shaggy Dog stories end that way, so it's not like it's unheard of. The heroes oppose the newly powered up villain or other new threat because that's what heroes do, and the superweapon is usually destroyed because it's so massively powerful and destructive that the implication is it'd always be at risk of falling into the wrong hands. All of these plot beats follow naturally from the basic structure of the premise and the format. Now, there is some internal variation depending on how exactly the superweapon works. As mentioned, if the weapon has a twist about it, it'll usually be revealed when the villain first gets their hands on it. It's fairly common for the weapon to have some kind of unexpected property. For instance, maybe the weapon is actually an ancient and powerful being that was sealed away or sleeping, and the process of unleashing it is a bit more like waking up Cthulhu than getting a nice clean space laser to point at your enemies. In extreme cases, the villain might actually fight the newly unleashed ancient evil, recognizing its bigger fish status and trying to shut it down.
To
before
bring
it's
us
too late.
Transformers
On the
for
flip side,
this?
sometimes the ancient superweapon isn't what the characters expect at all. Maybe it's broken or
Is
eroded.
she just randomly picking examples from TV tropes and just saying this usually happens? This is generally what occurs. It's like, what are you talking about?
Also, if we're talking about Atlantis here, the movie, he's not using this ancient superweapon wasn't his main goal. He just found out about it and then decided, I'll use it so I can steal stuff.
I just wish she would quote or just use names from a story with the thing. So we can go, oh, that's what you're talking about. Don't just generically say stuff. That doesn't help us. I need to know exactly
That's
what
how she comes off. That's a con artistry. That's how she comes off smart to her audience.
You can't generalize a thing in like everything by watching one or reading one thing. That doesn't help.
Let's generalize a very abstract trope by
Yeah,
itself.
she's talking about ancient superweapons and how it all follows this certain thing, yet has just given us an example of a film where that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because I recently watched this Atlantis. Don't ask me why. I was bored one day. And,
With your girlfriend.
But no,
Did
she
we
was
watch
at
it
work.
with Cedar and the others?
No, I watched it on my own.
It was too late for me, so I kept falling asleep.
Oh, did you? Oh, well, I watched it.
Yeah, I
away
have
from
to
you guys.
rewatch it at some point.
Okay.
But that's not how this ancient superweapon one works in this one. So, oh well.
All right. Here's Adam Wooford. Thank you for the 20, sir. That's very generous of you. Sometimes looking for an ancient weapon is to stop an ancient evil from destroying the world and or the galaxy. Think if something like a Reaper was going around killing millions and you and your team going after an ancient weapon. Wow. What a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, okay. The funny thing is that
alternative.
there is an actual ancient weapon in the game. It's the scar that we saw. They took the Mars.
No, it was the one that shot
The
that.
Klendigan weapon,
Reaper. Yeah.
So
Which left the rift on the other planet.
right, and they just took they flipped the JPEG of Mars and took the scar.
Yeah.
as the impact crater, which I thought was cool. But yeah, that could have. I mentioned this in my Mass Effect 2 video. If they were spending the time to look for the Klendigan weapon or how to rebuild it, that at least would have meant something tangible. That would have made some sense.
I mean, still, if they had found the Klendigan weapon and everything like that, I mean, it probably would have been worth less than Grunt in war assets.
Well, the odd thing is, if you actually read the lore about the Thanix cannon can penetrate any known shields, which means it can destroy a Reaper.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, a small handheld nuclear gun can destroy a Reaper, and we were worried about him.
It's just like the lore is contradicting the entire plot at every turn. It's like, oh, we have small aircraft that all have Thanix cannons on them. They can each destroy a Reaper with one shot. Like, oh.
Yeah, why are we worried about anything that's ever going to happen? Why are we?
It boggles the mind how these writers got off the ground with this story.
The thing is, it's like, oh well, the Phoenix cannon might not be strong enough. It's like it's reverse engineered from Sovereign himself. They're gonna, and there was pieces of Sovereign. They can do tests. If they can penetrate Sovereign's, metallic outer shell, gonna work.
And we know the shields. Once the shields are down, it's just a piece of metal. It's a big piece of metal, big target. And we saw that with Mass Effect 1.
We also know that their shields must work on a similar level to our own shields because all technology is based on Mass Effect technology.
Yeah, so
It's all based on the same physics.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you have this hard science lore in a story, and then you retard it as the story continues, you have a huge plot hole and a series of plot holes that it takes about 2 seconds for your brain to go, wait a second, we have all this tech, we know what we're doing. Why aren't we doing the best and most efficient possible technological solution? And they did. They just didn't bother to make that the main plot.
Yeah.
We have the Thanix cannons. We have the Thanix missiles, which also work.
We have Phoenix missiles attached to tank truck vans.
And we have the cane, which also works.
Yeah, the minute I saw that scene, I was like, well, why weren't we using this beforehand? Why don't we just arm everybody with this? And then you said it in your video. I was like, yes, exactly. Why are we not just arming everyone with these?
Everyone can kill a Reaper.
Solve so many problems.
Yeah, every man a cane, every cane a dead Reaper. It's like, go for it. Go gents.
Just give every man, woman, and child, just give everybody a cane. It doesn't matter. It's fine. Shoot them all.
Then there's the actual game mechanic, or the rather animation mechanic, of turning the cane superweapon from Mass Effect 2 to a missile launcher in Mass Effect 3, which, if you actually read the lore in Mass Effect 2, it's just a really powerful Mass Effect gun. It just shoots a bigger slug or whatever. And in 3, they turn it into a really slow-moving missile.
Also, they also reverse engineer a gun that can make a black hole.
Yeah.
That is not a smart idea.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, there's a gun that can shoot a black hole. Why are we worried?
I would be worried about
that's in your arsenal. You're like, oh no, the blue suns. I have a gun that shoots the black hole.
Yeah. Shields don't matter in that case.
Shields don't. It's a black hole. It doesn't matter what's there.
Yeah, your problem is gravity now.
No, if your ship gets shot with a black hole, there's no. Oh, shields took that. The black hole didn't go through our shields. No, you're being sucked into it. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
That's what I mean. Your problem is gravity now. Anyway, I have another example where Red's thing doesn't work. That would be Breath of the Wild, where you just, if you want to, activate all the ancient super weapons that were made to battle this one ancient evil. To have an easier fight against this one ancient evil. So Ganon isn't he isn't trying to get access to the ancient super weapons. Well, he initially, when he breaks free, just takes them over. But that's relatively irrelevant, because your job is just to fix the ancient super weapons and then kill Ganon.
I just realised something. We were talking about a sentient ancient super weapon. I can't believe we didn't bring up the fifth element.
Oh.
Well, if you're going to watch a Hallmark movie, that's the one to watch.
The fifth element's great. Shut up. It's great. I love it.
Well, that's what I mean. If you're going to watch
beautiful mess,
a romance story, that's the one you got to watch.
Yeah. But that's an ancient super weapon that the villain wants to try and find, so that it's not used against him.
How the hell does that even work? Everyone kiss Lilu. Okay, here we go.
Well, it makes more sense than Captain Planet.
Oh yeah.
Also less propaganda than Captain Planet.
You sure?
Yeah, well, it's just summoned in the same way, but it's less propaganda than Captain Planet. Yes, that's very, very simple.
Yeah.
Simply true, yes.
Earth, what was it? Earth, Wind.
Earth, Wind, Fire, Water, and Love.
Lulu.
Lilo. The fifth element is Lilo. Multipass.
It's love.
It's Mila Jovovich. That's really the power of love.
And to say everyone's only watching it for Gary Oldman. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, and
pretty
his
good.
wonderful haircut.
Yeah.
His accent, yeah, it was good.
I never got that as a child, but then again, a lot of Fifth Element went past me as a child, and I still enjoyed it. So
Fantastic
It's
stuff.
wonderful, wonderful nonsense.
Yeah.
But again, so that's another one with an ancient superweapon, where it's not the way that Reds described the basic premise. It's a bit like, well,
It's almost like there are as many exceptions to a rule as there are things following it.
to be honest with you, it's honestly
Does
it's
that
like
even make
it's
it
like
a
the
rule,
I
then?
before E except after C rule. There's
Yeah.
more exceptions than the rule. So
Yeah, well, the idea that I think Wisp was bringing about how the ancient super weapon becomes sentient and becomes part of the party. We've had that back from El Hazard anime. So these ideas have been around for a while, and it's a trope within a trope. There's all these series of ideas because they involve the plots of the villains, and
Oh,
yeah,
Trigun.
sorry,
The main character is the ancient superweapon.
in what?
Trigun.
Trigun.
Oh, and Trigun. Oh, I'm sorry. I said trigger. I was like, what the? You triggered? What happened?
I'm sorry, German pronunciation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Trigun.
Yeah, no, there's so many versions and variations. It's a plot device, it's a character, it's a scene, it's a flashback, it's exposition. It's so many things, whatever context you put it in. And this is what
Hellsing.
makes yes, Hellsing as well. You're right. There's so many versions of this that you cannot adapt a plot through it, or because
And what the fuck is Akira?
Akira is just a science experiment.
What? Yeah, but okay, it's not an ancient superweapon.
No.
Okay.
He's not ancient at all.
They're not yet.
He needs the right drug to be awesome. That's all it works. Just more drugs. Anyway.
Well, just let the Shoggoth live long enough and it becomes ancient.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
Ugh.
All right, here's a 5 from Adam again. Thank you, Adam. Speaking of ancient weapons, Guardian from Halo 5 versus Reaper, who would win? Also in Mass Effect 2, why didn't we go looking for the weapon that killed the Reaper? Yes, thank you. This is what I said in my videos. This is the logic of your brain going, why don't we just do X? Because the whole point of Mass Effect 2 should have been, how do we kill Reapers? And we found a solution, and even Tim was like, oh yeah, we found the results of the weapon, but not the weapon itself. It's like, great. Replicate the results. Do it. Why not?
yeah.
And,
Wouldn't you rather just go after the collectors who have no bearing on anything at all?
I gotta save the
Who have-
humans.
Yeah, who have the total of one ship and they're gonna go after Earth?
Yeah, if he just bought like 2 big ships and attacked and protected one colony, the game wouldn't have to happen. It just the logical thing would just stop the bad guys with the big guns you have that you have money for, and instead he buys a stealth ship or something. I don't know. Horrible story. Anyway. I don't know about the Guardian versus what is the Guardian from Halo 5? I don't ever played Halo 5. I can't say.
I haven't got a clue. But considering the fact that Reapers are bitch boys, probably the Guardian will win. So we'll have to. I'll have to have a look. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I haven't played any Halos after Halo Reach, so yeah.
It's just probably another ancient secret weapon that the what were they called? The Forerunners? The ancient,
Forerunners. Yeah.
the ancient aliens. Yeah, that built the Halo. Anyway, I will have to ask a Halo expert about the lore there, because I do not know it. If I think Gigaman was here, he might know, but that's okay.
Well, he's let us
an
down.
innocent person, or just overall not a weapon they can use. In extreme cases, it flat out kills the first person who unseals it, but in more disappointing cases, it just doesn't work. This is also bordering on MacGuffin status and is overall less exciting than if the weapon is actually dangerous, so it's less...
How is the end?
This is so specific.
How is the end of Indiana Jones not exciting?
How is that? The whole point of Indiana Jones is the Ark. It's not a MacGuffin. Everyone wants it.
I'm just trying to imagine someone watching the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, seeing people's faces melt and go, "Oh, that's boring."
What a boring MacGuffin.
This already.
Oh, that did nothing. No, because that wasn't the actual Grail. The actual Grail is there. He just chose wrong.
What if that audience member just closed their eyes as well?
Wrong movie. Wrong Indiana Jones movie.
Like, I closed his eyes throughout the entire scene.
You see free.
But in general, how often have you actually come across a fake MacGuffin or a worthless MacGuffin? That is a very rare thing in storytelling.
Rise of Skywalker.
That isn't a movie.
We're not sure what that
okay,
is.
Whisp, okay.
We haven't classified that movie yet as a thing.
It does not exist.
What else? I mean, fake MacGuffin. I mean, I'm trying to think, really. I don't know, really. There's usually, I mean, a lot of kiddie ones have. It wasn't the, machine that made one. It was love that did it. The power of friendship. Or something.
What, the Matrix?
Oh, remember the Star Trek one with the Vulcans? They found that, not the Vulcans, but the Romulans found that Vulcan weapon, that ancient Vulcan weapon.
Oh, yeah, that kills people if you
have murderous thoughts
remember.
Or something like that.
Yeah. So if you think violent thoughts, you'll die from it.
Yeah.
So you just have to not think violent thoughts. But that seems
interesting for a Vulcan.
That seems very specific, as in like this weapon only kills people who are violent. Oh wow!
Yeah, but
I guess the hippies are safe, aren't they?
Yeah, but Worf is a super violent guy, but he can turn it off whenever he wants because he's so good at fighting.
That's the most hilarious thing about it. It's like, Worf, I must kill people. Don't think violent thoughts. Oh, okay then. I mean, you could just do that. I mean, you tell me Klingons can just like switch it on and off. Your entire culture's based on violence.
Yeah, it's great.
Actually, sometimes on Saturdays we have an hour where we're just like, no one kills anybody.
Yeah, we have to recuperate from all the killing. We have to take a break.
Yeah, we have a 10-minute smoke break. Everyone's just outside. Oh, I just killed so many people today. I just can't keep up with it.
Oh boy.
Oh.
So
I'm trying to think of like worthless.
Yeah, no, this is so esoteric. I don't know where she's getting these specific ideas. If she would just give examples, I'd be so happy with her. It's like, okay, thank you. Now I know what you're talking about.
I mean, but I'm going to have to bring this up, but you could sort of say that was like with Kung Fu Panda with the scroll, because it's just a reflective piece of paper. But it's meant to be the message of it. It's you're meant to see yourself, and that's the worthy warrior. I don't know. I'm struggling.
Yeah, it's hard to do this without any reference that she's just not giving us. We're just sitting there confused.
I could bring up all these. Say if I could bring up all these movies, I'd have to think: has Red seen these movies? You know what I mean? It's
probably not.
Her do homework and actually point to a thing she had to research. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
common than the variants. In fact, it's much more common for the weapon to be way more dangerous than anyone anticipated. This helps answer the structural question of, hey, if this weapon is so powerful, why is the civilization that made it in ruins and not ruling the world right now? The simplest answer is that the civilization either couldn't unleash it or did so much damage unleashing it that they collapsed. This ties into a really fun space of tropes about lost civilizations and
creating an ancient superweapon isn't the only thing that a civilization does.
Mm-hmm. We have neutron bombs. They're not very good ideas to have, but well, they're there. We haven't bombed us into oblivion yet.
Well, the idea is that some civilizations have advanced beyond the need for material bodies, like we talk about Stargate.
Yeah.
They just left all their shit around. All the Stargates were just left around. All their other planets were just... They made stars for fun with this crazy ship that... I don't know why they did that, but they made stars so their ship can refuel in this trajectory. I don't know what the hell they were trying to do with that ship. So they evolved to a higher plane of existence, and they've left all their crap, weapons and all.
Well, it's like with Babylon 5, isn't it? The first ones and the old ones. They just, higher plane of existence, but leave stuff behind.
Yeah, they go beyond the rim. They left this part of the galaxy around, or what have you. Yeah, they got other stuff to do, folks. It's not hinging on this super weapon. It's like, oh, we got nukes. It's like, yeah, and we got to eat.
Yeah,
grow some crops.
We've used one of the most powerful weapons, like our super weapon. We've used it. Didn't end the world. You can use super weapons. Doesn't mean your entire civilization is going to get destroyed. There's other reasons why it could fall. Oh well, but anyway, that's sort of a nitpick.
Yeah.
From me.
Here's Noble Commando. Thank you for the 5, sir. The Guardians, from Halo, are these stupid giant metal space owls. A space owl? That the Forerunners use to police the galaxy, but we don't talk about Halo 5. Are you serious?
Space owl.
They're basically, imagine if the ending of Mass Effect 3, you go, you become a parrot, was it blue? You choose to
control.
Melt. Yeah, control. Thank you. The control ending, and you just police the world or the galaxy with Reapers just chilling out in space, just going, "Hey, planet, you building any?
Don't do that.
Are you building any artificial life down there? No. Okay.
Oh my god! Can you imagine if they did make Mass Effect? Mass Effect 4, and we actually do it after one of the endings. It's like, say they chose control, and it's like the Reapers are destroying Earth because someone was misgendered or something. Oh god.
Little Timmy is making AI think for itself. Oh, time to eradicate little Timmy.
Yeah.
And everything around him in a 10,000 mile radius. There's a giant warning probe just sitting outside this charred husk of a planet. This is what happens when you play around with your code for more than 10 years.
Ugh. Planets that eat Marmite are just eradicated straight away because it's illegal. And you're like, anyway, about ancient superweapons with no examples.
Yeah.
Apocalyptic corpses, and sometimes if the story is feeling real generous, we'll get something like an apocalypse log, wherein the ancient civilization left a written record or audio logs of how the ancient superweapon was so unexpectedly crazy deadly that everything went to shit the minute it switched on. These stories usually have very on-the-nose narratives about hubris and power hunger and the poignant tragedy of a great civilization crumbling under its own achievement. Sometimes this is actually too on the nose, so instead of a blatant narration of the apocalyptic downfall of civilization, we'll just get these themes through environmental storytelling instead. Murals or legends or just part of the background design that show the scars of an ancient cataclysm. Now, all that said, this is nowhere near the only story you can tell about an ancient superweapon. It's probably the simplest one, but there's plenty of room for variation. For instance, sometimes the ancient superweapon isn't hidden, it's completely forgotten. Ancient lost civilizations sometimes get new civilizations built on top of them, using their now forgotten and arcane technology for new mundane purposes with no idea what they used to do. Sometimes ancient ruins will be half buried in long deactivated factory production lines, or magical life-giving crystals will be ancient super advanced technology, or crumbling statues will be rusted robots. In this format, instead of chasing down a lost weapon, typically someone rediscovers the purpose of this ancient tech, or a living relic from that ancient civilization reboots that ancient tech that the rest of the world forgot about, or the characters just stumble on the half-broken but still very dangerous remnants of that ancient weaponry. In this form, the trope helps add depth to the setting by introducing a layer of ancient advanced civilization lost to time and decay, and even implies that the current world is technically post-apocalyptic, a low-tech feudal world balanced on the forgotten ruins of a thriving ancient empire. The exact nature of the weapon...
Yeah, that goes along with the term ancient. Yeah, I think we sort of picked up on that. That's generally you know, something which is old and has weapons which can do a lot of damage, probably had some degree of technology that we don't have right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to say like a weapon that was created last Tuesday is an ancient super weapon. I'm going to be like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Red. It's ancient. It comes from an old place. You're like, yeah, we got it. Thank you. Words mean stuff. We understand.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Just think of the IQ of our audience. They need to explain what the word ancient means.
The fantasy.
Ancient means old.
Yeah.
Old is a term for something that's been around for a long, long time.
Yeah, the fantasy genre has magic.
Bigger than short.
The sci-fi genre has science fiction with technology. Like, whoa, you're blowing my mind.
Yeah.
Never thought of that, Red.
Super weapons are weapons that are better than other ones.
Oh, boy. Okay. Turmoil, thanks for the 5. One Piece has a long-running subplot about ancient weapons. Okay. One is a mermaid princess who controls giant sea serpents, and it's a generational power. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, One Piece is a very diverse story with lots of characters, and it's pretty wild. It's all kinds of different shapes and sizes of people and abilities. So not just from with the fruit. I can't remember what the fruit is called, but the families and the gangs and what have you. So a little more mundane than a super weapon, though. Anyway.
The tech depends entirely on the setting and what the writer wants to do with it, but ancient robots are extremely common and ancient space lasers are just about as common. Depending on the execution, this trope also has occasional shades of eldritch horror, and it's not really all that surprising. Ancient superweapon can mean a lot of things, but the definition does require it to be ancient and dangerous, two key factors shared by most eldritch horrors. Some ancient superweapons are pretty basic by superweapon standards, like a really big gun, but some of them are a lot more unnerving, either due to their inherent nature or the effect they had on the civilization that created them. Sometimes in the process of uncovering the ancient superweapon, the characters piece together the story of how it became lost technology in the first place, which is often apocalyptically tragic. This applies even in stories where the characters don't realize there's a weapon involved. They might think they're just on a generic MacGuffin hunt looking for treasure or archaeologically significant discoveries, only to learn that the ruins they're exploring were wrecked by something very dangerous, often the very MacGuffin they're after. Ancient superweapons frequently have very strong narrative themes about the dangers of toying with forces beyond human comprehension and unleashing something ultimately unstoppable. See, the ultimate question of the ancient superweapon is, if it's so powerful, why didn't its creators win? Why aren't they ruling the world as we speak with an ancient superweapon mounted on every satellite? This question can be answered a lot of different ways, but the implications are almost always tragic. In some stories, the ancient superweapon didn't win because it was so deadly destructive that it made the world...
Or we have Mass Effect 3, where we're trying to make an ancient superweapon, and we don't know what it does or how to do so, and then we fail and die. And then 50,000 years later, another group of people find this ancient blueprint for a weapon, and they don't know what it does, and they build the next component for it, and it just goes on and on and on.
Or just hear me out. Not all civilizations last forever. They always end.
Yeah, but when you put a propeller on the end of something, then it works.
Oh Oh, yeah, no, those are civilizations that are definitely going to last forever. Honestly, I feel sorry for that cycle because they went, we put this propeller on, we've done something. Every other cycle's like, what the fuck is what? Why? Why have you done this?
Once you invent the microphone and you make it supersized, you got to put a propeller on it, and then you win the day. That's how you win.
Yeah. But like, no offense, but loads of people had weapons. Loads of civilizations had weapons that were, the most advanced, and they're not on top anymore.
Yeah, we talk about trains, planes, tanks.
Well, look at the British Empire. Why isn't the British Empire still like
greatest navy in the world? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we had the best weapons and best everything for centuries. Why aren't we still on top? Oh well, things change.
Yeah, you went from empire building to just chilling out and saying, yeah, we should stop doing that.
Just share the language. That's the new way.
But that's the thing. It's like when the first like people to use steel for swords instead of bronze. Why aren't they still on top? Well, technology changes. Things move on.
Changes.
Things change. It's very simple why an ancient power might. If an ancient this ancient superweapon is 1 million years old, why aren't they still around? 1 million years is a long time. 5,000 years is a long time. 1,000 years is a long time. When it comes to stuff. But that's just me, like, knowing history. You have to realize that things rise and fall, no matter whether you build the skloggy-blog gun that can shoot planets out of the sky.
Well, I learned my history from the intro to Metal Gear Solid 4. So.
Yes, yeah, of course, yes. A connoisseur of history, I see.
After my teacher told me to, yeah.
Your socialist
I just love the guy that he jerks off by himself. That like, I predicted these things whenever like something like really bad happens, because he did that with 9/11 when MGS2 was kind of having a plot related to that, and then again with Death Stranding when COVID happened. But like he admits that he gets his plots from B movies that he watches late at night, and then he's I created a masterpiece. Why don't you love me?
I get my ideas from shitty stories and make them shittier with more money. Thanks, Kajun.
Right.
It's a great idea how to make money.
At least George Lucas never did that.
Well, George Lucas based his ideas after an actual. I don't know if we can consider a sociologist, but someone who studied stories from thousands of years ago and try to make sense of them. And there's patterns as to why we care about those stories. And there's something innate, not just in nature, but in humanity and in our cultures as we change. And those things stay the same, which is amazing. And trying to make sense of that is difficult. If you try to read the Man with 1,000 Faces or the Hero with 1,000 Faces, it's hard. But it gives you great insight into why we play video games, why we watch movies, why we read fantasy books and sci-fi books and all kinds of content. There's something about that struggle of the individual coming together to solve a problem, whether it's with weapons or technology or ingenuity, that we just keep coming back to. So it's interesting. It's interesting to contemplate sometimes, at least when you're writing a book on aesthetics and why we bother to analyze these things in the first place, to understand what is the thing that drives us to read and consume media outside of doing other things. So it's more of a philosophical experience, but everyone has their own interests. So reds are just so generic. I don't know what the hell she's talking about. So the weapon was too deadly when used. Oh yeah, okay.
broadly uninhabitable until things eventually recovered. Essentially, the people who fired the weapon had so much trouble staying alive after that they couldn't reap the tactical benefits anyway. In these stories, remnants of the ancient superweapon or the damage it did often linger in the form of fallout, toxins, half-buried ruins, or the occasional half-dead killer robot. These stories are often
Examples, please. Why was this way? Is this good? Is this bad? Tell us what. Like, come on. Give me something.
I just remember, like, example, like Secret of Blue Water, Nadia. Yep. Basically, it's almost the same plot as Atlantis because it's based on that and Nemo. But it isn't like the same plot that Atlantis existed and then they fucked it up with the Civil War. And almost everyone of them have died out, but humanity remained. And now they have resurfaced some of that technology and they're trying to like get to the bottom of it, to reactivate like some space station that can pretty much act as an ion cannon.
Well, yeah, once she understands what the blue water does, and
yeah, and that crazy masked guy.
Is that Gargoyle? What's his name?
Yeah, Gargoyle. Yeah.
It's been a while since I watched that. It's a great, all these great. Is that a studio? I think it's a Studio Ghibli movie. It's all those really.
Yeah, it was first episode, and then they passed it to Gainax.
Yeah, I know Hideki Anno was involved in it, and when I watched it, I had no idea because I was younger. I had no idea who Hideki Anno was, but you actually read the credits, you're like, Hideki Anno was involved in this. Well, he's actually good at something. And
but he was still good, yeah.
Well, I know that
before Evangelion.
Exactly, yeah. So whatever happened, I know Miyazaki was involved, and Hideki Anno wrote the story. So, it's one of those more classic tales than obviously Evangelion or these other things, because it feels more like a fantasy, like a Disney fantasy, but with much more different vibe to it than you would get from watching a mini series of anime or reading a sci-fi from the 70s. So
yeah,
it's got some backbone to it. It's got some plot that you can go, okay, this makes sense. So, and it's Japanese, so there's also Japanese mentalities and sensibilities. So all these really good animes from the 70s and 80s are like, oh, probably check them out. Anyway, back to her generic explanation of things.
Legally post-apocalyptic. It might or might not be obvious from the visual design, but the characters usually don't fully register the implications of the fact that they're living in the ruins of the old world. And anyone hunting for old world weapons risks unleashing something literally apocalyptic if they manage to get the thing working again. Now that's probably the most extreme case. In lighter versions, the ancient superweapons just didn't win because it was specifically destructive to the people who used it. Maybe it glitched and went out of control, or it was sentient and didn't approve of how people were trying to use it, or it just had a really nasty...
So, Terminator scenario. Or something. Like, it's just like it's too. She's saying things too generic, which are entire plots of stories. Like, you have to be specific. You can't just say option 2. When you write a story about super weapons, you have to do. It's like, no, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's very different because, like in Terminator, Skynet is literally the ancient superweapon.
Yeah. But also the future one at a certain point.
Yeah, this is almost useless. Like, if you're to teach someone how to write a post-apocalyptic story, like, this is not going to help them. She's just mishmashing ideas without examples and saying, this is one way to do it. It's like, there's an infinite number of ways to do it. It's called imagination. You can do all kinds of great things. So long as it makes sense to the audience, you can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
You can make the super weapon that kills the super weapon a plate of spaghetti for all I care.
Yeah. If it's a weapon, it's a weapon, isn't it?
Yeah, it works. It does the job. You're going to get the best spaghetti in the world or whatever, and get all the Italians together and like mass produce the shit.
Oh my! Oh dear Lord! All the Italians in one place.
Meatballs for everybody. Yeah.
Nitrous for the fishes.
Kill all the ancient AI with spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah.
been apocalyptically bad,
Mamma
just
mia.
actively harmful to use. This is how you get self-disposing superweapons, where the bad guy powers it up and it basically immediately disintegrates them. Now, in some cases, the weapon's not even all that bad. It does what it's supposed to, and it's pretty much totally safe for the user. The problem is the civilization that created it realized something like, this is way too much power for anyone to have, the world just isn't ready, and abandoned the concept, usually hiding the superweapon behind a nice array of traps to make sure nobody trips over it. This implies that the ancient civilization in question was fairly self-aware, but does beg the question of why they built it in the first place, and then why they didn't destroy it when
Because there wouldn't be a story.
Also, they didn't destroy it because they wanted to use it.
Yeah, like, they made traps. Like, why would you put security in a system that can blow up the world? Gee, I don't know.
It's almost like we didn't want anyone else using it.
It's like we built the thing. We don't know what to do with it. Let's dismantle it. No, wait, we could have a use. Okay, let's protect it and leave it alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Then when we figure out how to use it, we'll use it.
Yeah, this is not hard to grasp. This is not some mystery and logic. Like, why did they do this?
One of life's great mysteries.
Yeah, we have like 80,000. Was it 100,000 nukes just sitting in storage somewhere? It's like, yeah, and
yeah. Well, why don't we just use them? We don't have to use them.
this is
We
part
have
of the
other ways of doing stuff.
Yeah. This is the part of the argument where you say if Saudi Arabia gets a nuke or whatever, whatever country gets a nuke, it's like it's gonna be World War III. It's like, no, they get a nuke. So what? They're not gonna blow up. They're not stupid enough to use it. If they are, then they'll get eradicated. It's that simple.
Yeah. Well, think about it. One of the best written trilogies ever, the sequel trilogy, they had a super weapon. It got destroyed, and they still took over the galaxy in one day.
Oh
We have a
no!
need of a super weapon.
They keep rebuilding it, and it keeps getting destroyed. It's like, gee, I think this thing isn't very effective.
Yeah. It's almost like you could just take over the galaxy with ships.
Yeah, if only the Empire did not make super weapons, they'd be in power right now.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. It's a bit like, yeah, against Japan, the nuclear bomb is what won it because it showed Japan that the Americans didn't have to send troops in, but to beat the Germans, it was just troops. There was easier stuff. Wars are usually won by the basic military, not super weapons.
There are plenty of arguments leading up to the creation of the bomb and the dropping of the bomb that was saying there was really no need for it at that point, and they could have. Japan was slowly on the verge of being irrelevant and just no longer being part of the war.
It was to save the invasion of Japan. It was it was more to show everyone that the Americans had this new weapon, and
Americans were pretty much doing their job from the example of Pearl Harbor, and it was just like, okay, you hit us, we're going to hit you back. That was pretty much an aspect of ego or whatever you want to call bravado. I don't know which book I remember referencing. I was doing a book report back in the day that was saying that Japan they did the crazy kamikaze attack, and that was it. They weren't going to do anything else. They kind of learned their lesson.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was. It was more. It was more the fact that somehow the American military predicted millions of deaths if they invaded with troops and stuff, and they didn't want to have that many deaths and everything, so they just thought if you. That's why they had to drop 2 bombs though. The thing is,
yeah.
They didn't surrender after the first one. After the second one, I think it was to say, listen, we've got more of these. We can keep just dropping them. We will never have to send another man in to fight again.
Yeah, they could have dropped that anywhere in Japan. Like they didn't have to hit a village. They could have hit just a mountain. Like imagine nuking Mount Fuji. That would have scared the shit out of everyone. Like holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, but yeah, with an ancient super weapon, it's a bit like. Large weapons and stuff like that aren't the be all and end all of like wars or conquests or anything. So
yeah, exactly. So here's Noble Commando. Thanks for the 2 again. Why is Red so dead? We may never know. I don't think she's dumb. I just think her responses are so generic and so like she could be talking about any trope and she's not giving me any references. She's just showing video on the screen and I'm like, what movie is that? What scene is that? Where's the super weapon? What is it doing? How is it relevant to what you're describing? Because usually when people do good videos and they do fast clips, the fast clips time up with what they're saying. So every 2 seconds, a clip, matching the sentence. This is just, here's 10 seconds from Arsène Lupin, or Lupin III, and here's another clip from some other animation. I was like, what is this? I don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't connect. And she's just running through her script. I'm like, this is not helping me. You should be teaching me something. You should be showing me something that makes sense to what you're saying.
I know people probably try and defend it saying it's just supposed to be a basic thing to teach people who don't have any idea about the tropes, but you can do a bit more.
She should have chosen one aspect of the trope and one element or one example of that aspect and talked about it.
Yeah.
The most common one would have worked. That's fine.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or one she likes. I don't care. Pick anything.
Yeah.
And they realized it was bad. Lots of super weapons aren't exactly designed to be weapons, but can easily be repurposed that way, usually with disastrous results. This is often used for a general anti-war message, which is honestly very common.
Often used general. It's like, just come on.
Often used, sometimes probably, maybe.
Yeah, it's just, come on, don't say that, please. We're not talking about people's behavior. We're talking about stories. You can read a story and reference it. This is used in this movie. It's like, yes, please show us the movie.
These ancient superweapons are generally used as an anti-war message. Are they? Oh, okay. A lot of things don't give off that anti-war vibe. Yeah. I'll be honest.
For an anti-war movie, I would recommend Wings of Hanami. It's an anime. It's about a guy going into space. And the rush to do that, because they can launch stuff into space, but people are like, the military is trying to stop that because whatever. There's a war going on, and he's actually being shelled as he's he's trying to leave orbit. And then when he gets to orbit, he's like, look at how insignificant we are. Look at this amazing view and vantage I have, and it's all leading up to that. And that's the message of the film, but it's a lot more than just anti-war, but that's what it comes down to. So very similar to what happened, I would say, in before the Cold War? Was it Sputnik, and then it was Man on the Moon?
Sputnik.
Yeah, it was all these series of competitions with Russia and the States getting into space, the space race. I don't know how that impacted the Cold War. I wasn't around during then. But that, yeah, I don't know the history of these things very well. I wasn't born. But I'm quite sure people born during that time remember the first man on the moon landing, or the moon landing, and the like. It was a time to pause, kind of like with 9/11, when everyone heard that and saw that on the monitors. They're like, "Whoa, that's serious."
Yeah.
So. She should be describing things in that sort of notion of ancient superweapons. Here's an example. Not sometimes all it's probably maybe generally speaking
anti-war. Sometimes would be these popular things.
Yeah.
Well, covering your bases, you can. If you say enough, words, you've covered all your bases. So.
All right. Well, how far are we in? Let me just check the time. 2 hours in. All right. We can just watch the end of this, or we can take a break and do this tomorrow. If you guys want to do anime day tomorrow as well. This video is pointless. Good Lord. If she wrote.
No.
Yeah, imagine writing an essay where you're just generically talking about the topic with no references. It's amazing.
This feels like an essay where you need to get to like 1,000 words, and to make it look better, you put the with it. So you're like,
Like, talk
Cool.
about the War of
You
18.
got that.
Talk about any war, reference nothing. Just say stuff happened with people and people died and there were these kinds of guns and these kinds of bombs and
People died when they are killed.
yeah, just say stupid shit. Like, just keep going on and on. You're not wrong. You're just not saying anything tangible and referential. So you're like, I don't know
The
what the
war
heck.
started on the day it began. You're like, oh yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this
Ooh,
this
so
is
deep, so philosophical.
this is not helping anyone. This
Every minute, 60 seconds passes in Africa.
In every war, somebody dies. You're like, interesting.
thank you.
Killing
Somebody
you
wins.
is full-time job now.
All right, I'm gonna jump to stream memes because this is
Oh,
pointless.
thank God for that.
All right. Oh, this is great. Egg McMuffin. Is that an Egg McMuffin or is that a burger?
It's the
Why not
burger.
both?
I think that's
Go
a
on.
Egg Mc. It looks like an Egg. There's this big hunk of
Yeah,
white.
it's an egg McMuffin. Yeah,
Egg McBurger? I don't know. Something like that.
it's a McMuffin. I've eaten enough of them. Yeah.
All right. I have no idea what a MacGuffin is, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask. Oh.
I think I zoned out for a moment. Did you get Howler's super chat?
Yeah, we're done. We're pretty much done the video, so.
Oh, okay.
All right, the MacGuffin. Okay. We don't know what it is, where it came from, what it does, but they want it, and that's all the reason we need to keep them from getting it. Okay. That's close enough for me. Oh, right, the MacGuffin for the BBEG. The MacGuffin we found specifically to kill the BBEG slaying MacGuffin. Long pause. That MacGuffin?
Yeah, it's poison the Cusco. The poison specifically made to poison Cusco. That poison.
Alrighty. This is from Jacob von Torkar. Thank you, sir. I'm going to fudge that super weapon. And what? She turned in.
Amazing.
This is One Piece, I'm assuming.
Oh, maybe that's the super weapon.
This, the hot mermaid chick is the super weapon.
You know what? Yeah, go on then.
Yeah, it's anime. Whatever, it's fine.
Whatever. Never watched Naruto.
Is a protector of the earth. Doesn't help you kill Sephiroth. Yeah, isn't that great? All the super weapons in Final Fantasy VII are just sort of chilling.
They're chilling or they attack you? Or Shinra? It's Shinra the company
Well,
that tries to get
yeah,
stuff.
if you're a super weapon, don't walk straight into the direction of a gigantic cannon. Just heads up.
Yeah, that's kind of stupid. But I think it would have been like a nice touch in Final Fantasy VII if like one of these protectors would have actually engaged to kill Sephiroth, but you get the remains of that. But like I don't think it ever happened. Like you have to like specifically go and find these.
Yeah, these bonus challenges have nothing to do with the
Oh
story.
my god, that was so annoying to do. Especially the one underwater.
Yeah,
that took me forever.
Emerald weapon. Ruby was reasonable. Was it Emerald was bad or Ruby was bad? I can't remember which one it was. It was been a while.
Ruby was the one
Ruby
that
was
had like
definitely
those tentacles in the soil.
Oh. Yeah, it would be nice if the planet had all these defense systems and realized the threat was Meteor and Sephiroth, but they never did. They thought it was Shinra, which is weird. The Virgin Crucible. Oh my god. It's a floating ball in space, shoots colorful laser beams. Does it shoot colorful? Does it shoot? I don't even think it does that.
Red, green, and blue.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that was
it shoots strobe lights. Okay.
I'm not even sure what it does. I know it's red. I know the colors, but how? Like, what is it? How does it work? We don't know. No one knows.
Smart.
My thing is this:
Smart.
how does disintegrating give you control of the Reapers? how does shooting the pipe destroy the Reapers?
Yeah.
And how does
Yep.
jumping into a green beam turn everyone half synthetic?
It was all a dream.
Oh yeah, thanks. That makes it much better, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I can sleep easy now knowing it's all a dream.
Yeah, Shepard wakes up going, "Oh, that was a hell of a night, guys," and all the people in the room naked on the floor. They can't talk from all the sexual intercourse they've had the night before.
It's just he just wakes up. It turns out he was always on Eden Prime, and he's just been robbed. He's just naked.
These drunken parties he's been having every day. All right.
Oh, dear.
So the Virgin Crucible versus the Chad Liberty Prime throws mini nukes and says communism is a lie.
Yeah, because that is an ancient super weapon.
That is
So-
the goofiest ending to a Fallout game I ever remember.
Wait, we're on memes?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, why?
We just
Where have
gave
you
up.
been?
We just gave up on Red. She
You
was
gave up?
she was a waste of
Yeah.
time.
Oh. Yeah, that's
Too
yeah.
much whiskey.
Oh, by the way, in the Smudcast discussion, the mermaid is an ancient super weapon who has the power to control the Sea Kings.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Is she a gigantic mermaid or just a normal looking mermaid?
A giant mermaid.
Oh
princess.
wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And of course she's a hot chick with long pink hair.
Big tits, so it's
Only
perfect.
in Japan.
Well, yeah, obviously if you're gonna make a mermaid, you may able to make them attractive. I mean, you can't just
Mm.
have a generic mermaid. I don't know what this is. Meeting MacGuffin. The struggle for water has never been this animated. An animated ecological thriller. Holy hell! What is this?
Oh, there's so many memes.
I don't know. Western Howler. Oh my god. Last time things got too German and Japan.
Oh,
Jesus.
nice.
Jordan Kills again. The rise of the Skywalker in a nutshell. Have you met our Lord and Savior, the MacGuffin? What
So
the,
many MacGuffins.
What the hell am I looking at?
I don't
I don't know what that
don't
is.
know.
Yeah,
I don't- Listen, I don't know this anime weeb shit, and you're asking like the wrong people.
I know some, but not what this. There's so much anime, you can't know everything. So, Jordan Kells, where'd you get that, sir? I'm curious. Here's any J.J. Abrams movie. What? There's a box in the box. Yo, dog, I heard you like MacGuffins.
Oh, remember
This
we
is
watched
ancient.
that video about the mystery box? And he did everything but talk about the damn box, and he made up a story about how it was his granddad's box.
The granddad's roommates.
Yeah, his granddad was into magic or some bullshit. You're like, yeah, I'm sure that really happened. Right, JJ?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
This box cost $15. It's like, should have bought something better for $15.
So all I know is that this is from a video game called The World Ends With You. I don't know if it's the sequel, but I played the original. It was kind of cool. It just destroyed your DS because you were smashing the touchpad. Interesting game. Inquisitus Guy. Oh, it's Mateus. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what the? Oh, yeah. Heroes can't have the desire to use the superweapon as a weapon. Red. Behold, the sword of time that can save the world. Yeah.
Wait. Did I remember Red said something like that? Did she actually say that?
Yes.
Is she retarded?
Yes.
Yeah, we know this for like years now.
Was it the Grana saber in thingy and what was it?
Or the Master Sword in Zelda.
Oh, this
Yeah,
is
the
so
Triforce. The Triforce, the fucking Triforce that allows you to wish for anything. This is a weapon. Yeah, well, again, Xenoblade itself. Bloody almost everything. Fuck's sake.
So this is they replaced the MacGyver action figure with a paperclip.
Yes.
Great.
I don't think he uses the paperclip too often, actually. I think he uses his Swiss Army knife a lot, but
We gotta get all the equipment.
yeah.
We need to watch MacGyver.
Yeah, well, you maybe watch a few episodes. After that, it gets very redundant. So some of it's kind of stupid too. Like he blows up shit with like glue guns.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Makes more
Seen
sense
on
than what we
TV.
currently see from Marvel.
Well, yeah. Makes bombs out of anything. MacGuffins. Is that an actual store? It's a bar, it looks like.
So it's something.
Yeah. There's
guess
someone
so.
wearing a headband and looks like a face mask, and there's a bunch of booze in a cabinet. So,
Grandia, that was the name of the game.
oh god, Grandia, that's a great Grandia 2. I
Yeah,
remember
that's what I meant with the Granat Saber. So that is literally a weapon,
Yeah.
super weapon.
All right, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, or live even long and become an ancient super MacGuffin.
Longer, but okay, yeah.
I'm surprised
Yeah,
there's no
do to
Cosmos.
that.
There's no Cosmos memes. I thought that would be like the big thing we talked about was the
Yeah.
Cosmos blowing
Yeah.
away a galaxy or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, in Xenoblade 2, she just ends up to be one of many of the technically super weapons,
Yeah.
and is replaced by a robot girl that were hacked together by two perverts in a weekend.
Pretty much. Yeah.
This is amazing. I love it. It's so great.
So here's our final meme. This is the very wonderful meme of the guy asking the question, is this a thing? And it's Red asking, is this a MacGuffin? And we have 2 Death Stars, a bunch of bananas, a Reaper, Ark of the Covenant, the spaceship from Stargate movie. I think that's Halo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Halo ring, and we got Lilu.
Mhm.
Is she a MacGuffin? I don't think she's a MacGuffin. I think she's one of the central characters.
Yeah, but also
She
MacGuffin.
is. She is.
Yeah.
She's the final element.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She's the 5th.
She's a plot device. I wouldn't call her MacGuffin though, but anyway. MacGuffins,
she's
remember,
something.
MacGuffins are disposable. You use them and they're forgotten. So
So yeah. So
Yeah,
just like
do
most
you remember her after the plot?
oh yeah.
Do I remember her after the plot?
The first 10 minutes I
Everyone
remember-
does because of those Resident Evil movies.
Oh.
I always reference Fifth Element when I talk about space operas, is because it's one way of doing it well. Focuses on the genre, focuses on the action, the bombastic nature of everything, and everything's blowing up and going fast and going quick. And it slows down here and there, but the pacing is very good. Acting is very good. Everything knows its place.
The meme with the uses super weapon as a weapon thing. More accurate than the Sword of Time, my Master Sword rather would be the Triforce.
Yes. When we talk about the pattern of storytelling, like the hero's journey, there's usually the boon that's granted to by the wise old man. Like we see at the beginning of Zelda, like take this sword, you'll need it on your journey. It's kind of that idea of you need the thing to help you slay the beast. And the beast is not the journey, that's just one part of it.
Yeah,
So-
but the Triforce is an ancient techno-magical wish-granting, reality-warping super device that Demise, Ganon later on, didn't even know didn't know existed. I don't know. I'm not entirely clear whether that he that is a bit weird. Anyway, the whole point of it was that Link was supposed to use it at the end to wish for the destruction of Ganon or Demise, and did that. It's a god device, not just ancient super weapon. It's a god device.
Right. And that's
It's more than just an ancient super weapon.
yeah, and we talk about the Fate series here and again because we have some people in chat who do. And that's the whole concept of the Fate series, which is the Grail, the Holy Grail War, which is a wish-granting device, which is a super deadly weapon that just eliminates things to either garner energy to make something happen, or is an entity that wants to come into being as a result of wishes being granted, depending on which you watch.
Yeah,
How it's explained
I
is
just keep
different.
trying to think of examples, but I think I'm too tired.
Yeah, but in that story, everyone's fighting the same battle. It's a battle royale, and there's no clear villain.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just this guy versus that guy, then versus another guy versus that. There's like, all these dudes that we've seen in other stories come together fighting again and again. Anyway, phew. What a worthless video, guys. Honestly, just do a search on TV tropes for Superweapon or ancient technology, or the Forerunners, or whatever you want to call the ancient civilizations in stories. Read those tropes. You'll be much more educated and understanding, and then you'll read some books and watch some movies and go, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I have a question for next time. I'd like input on that. Is Red just a con artist, or does she believe she is competent?
Well, you know what? When people read books and watch movies, they like talking about them. And they like to say, in this movie, this happens, because they know from experience what happens. And that would usually bolster an argument when you have reference to the thing you experience.
Red has repeatedly proven to us that her pattern recognition is shit, and that she doesn't understand basic concepts, especially when it's about emotions of people.
Well, emotions are hard for her, I think, in general, but in her, patterns or in stories that involve psychological issues or dramatic scenarios usually are easier to pull off than logic and plot. That's why there's all kinds of romance stories or drama in adventure stories or what have you. And that's why there's not as many murder mysteries or mystery stories, because they require a hard line on logic. If you don't use deductive logic, you don't have a murder mystery story. You don't have a mystery story, period. So drama is easier. And you'd think she'd pick up on the basics of not just, ancient superweapons, but plots where two characters fall in love or are in conflict and have psychological issues, and those are part of their background stories. And those background stories don't have to be about an ancient civilization, but they can. And we know about that trope in all the Final Fantasy games. There's always some last remaining child of some ancient civilization, or the ancients, or the angels, or whatever. They're a key to this or that. They have some magical pendant, or they have some memento of that, and that's unlocks the ancient doorway to some buried building, and there you'll find all kinds of other lore and technology and magic, or this or that. That's a fairly common thing. It's not unrelated to the superweapon idea, but you can go so many places talking about the past in your stories and the lessons you could learn from that. And I don't know what we picked up from Red today, but it was so generic. Like, okay, yeah, this happened in the past, and there's a deadly weapon. That's what weapons are. It's like, okay. Post-apocalypse.
I'm also thinking of one of the because they go for standard stories. A lot is the Warcraft storyline, where you technically have some in Warcraft 3 things you could consider super weapons, and they are not gained by the heroes or destroyed. Instead, in the end, the actual final one is the plot of the villain, the Lich King, comes true by merging with his avatar disciple thing that he corrupted. Technically it's a bad ending.
Well, it's the corruption of the hero character.
Yeah.
And then that allows you.
Finalizes.
Well, that's fine. The downfall of a hero character, but because that's how Blizzard tells their stories, at least those style of RTS games, where the first campaign is the heroes, which the story connects to the next part, which is the orcs, I think, and then it goes to the undead, and then it keeps going.
I think it was humans, undead, orcs, night elves.
Okay, great. Yeah. So that's the gameplay matches the stories as they go. So that's how they tell their, at least how they did their.
That was great. It did have some of these super magic devices, but the final one, the Crown of the Lich King, essentially, which was another being. That's kind of the Illidan tried to destroy it, but failed, or get to it before Arthas did. Who's at least in the Warcraft storyline, it's an interesting. What is he? Is he an anti-hero? He does try to do the right things. He does try to save the world, but he goes through means that are very questionable.
Yeah, he butchers an entire village, starting off.
No, that's Arthas.
Oh, sorry, we're talking about way later.
Illidan has just no qualms about taking on demonic powers, waking ancient evils to destroy another evil.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's more of a chaotic wrecking ball in his quest for whatever.
He's a renegade.
And I'm gonna ignore everything that World of Warcraft had because that turned out to be random shit. I'm just that as tropey as the Warcraft story was, it doesn't fit most things Red's talking about.
Well, I don't know about you guys. I go back to playing another Eden, which has super weapons every chapter. I think there's 3.
Are you getting money for this?
No, this is me in my obsession with Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger, trying to see if my childhood is better, which so far it is, than this weird free to play JRPG on your phone. Gigantic game. Like, I don't know if you guys remember playing Chrono Cross. If you did, just imagine not as good music, way more characters, not as confusing stories. I'll give it that, because Chrono Cross is a mishmash of stories, but almost the same characters. And they even have the characters from Chrono Cross in the game because they have crossovers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did it just recently. It's hilarious. It's like, this is the game you guys ripped off, and you got them to be in. Like, how did you pull this? I don't know. It's just hilarious.
I am extremely tired yet, and I don't know where this desire comes from, but I want to watch Last Action Hero for some reason.
Why?
I don't know.
Why would you do
Charles
that?
Dance?
Okay.
He plays the villain.
I mean, it's not a
Young
bad
Charles
movie.
Dance playing the villain in an action movie. It's great.
Yeah, he's cool. I like Charles. Different popularity in his career. When no one really knew him very well. But anyway, we got to do some shopping right now before the day is over. So thank you guys so much. Have yourself a great evening. And hopefully we'll have an anime-filled tomorrow video to cover. So please do go to the recommendation sections and fill out your anime video to cover. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.